far and hitters everywhere.
Mercury Sable continues to distinguish itself as a leader in automotive design. This year, we redesigned the exterior, the interior, the instrument panel, and equipped it with dual airbags, a feature not offered by any other manufacturer in this class. Other than that, we've pretty much left it alone. All this and the quality of a Mercury.
To fly free, once the privilege of a few frequent flyers. Today it comes to the many, the frequent buyers, through a program called Air Miles. You just buy the kinds of products you buy every day, collect the miles that come with them, and before you know it, you're flying free. Look for this Air Miles insignia, then buy smart and fly free.
Don't get hit by an annual fee. Carry the card that doesn't charge one. And keep yourself out of the hole. It pays to discover.
With this ripe tomato, I'm going to show you how the Aquafresh Flex Brush helps take care of your gums and your teeth. It has a flexible neck, so no matter how you brush, you can see it's gentle on your gums. Aquafresh Flex for gentle dental care.
An international trail of murder.
You will die.
Leaves a GI wrongly accused. Only one man can bring justice for an American in Paris. A Perry Mason mystery movie, NBC Friday.
Johnny's down to his last two shows, and tonight, Robin Williams and Bette Midler say goodbye. Then on Late Night, Dave has a lovely visit with Jan Hooks tonight. An NBC Olympic moment, brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beer.
East Germany's Kristen Otto arrived in Seoul as the favorite to win 4 gold medals. 16 days and 6 events later, Otto had made Olympic history.
Look at this 4-way race to the wall. And in lane 3, it looks like it was Kristen Otto of East Germany.
The 6'2" East German was the most decorated female athlete of these games and was the first woman in any sport to win 6 gold medals in one Olympics.
Let the games begin.
Play the Bud Summer Games. Look for details wherever you buy Budweiser, Bud Light, or Bud Dry. You could win $1 million in gold.
Royal Caribbean, paradise surrounds me. There's no place like this on land. All my cares, they're behind me. The world's in my command.
Over the past 11 years, one cruise line has won more major consumer awards than any other. Royal Caribbean, the grand resorts of the 7 seas.
Royal Caribbean. Come on, let me show you where it's at. Come on, let me show you where it's at. Come on, cold Miller Lite, I like it like that.
Great beer taste that's less filling. Miller Lite's everything you want a beer to be.
I didn't think she'd come.
I know she'd come.
Miller Lite, it's it, and that's that. Come on!
LA Law will be right back.
Last week, moviegoers paid $35 million to see him.
Since when did you start wearing underpants?
Now you can see him for free. Mel Gibson, Bird on a Wire, NBC Sunday.
Some want him for the bounty.
Bring him back alive.
Some want him dead. Some just want him. Desperado, NBC Monday.
This is John Beard. A hostage standoff has been going on in San Bernardino for 23 hours now. A live report at 11. The Angels recovering from their team bus crashing overnight. Fred will have details on that. The Crips and Bloods have another unity meeting, but is a truce really possible? And a big night here in Burbank. The king of the night, down to his last 2 shows. All that more here on Nightside at 11.
If your breakfast looks like this, maybe you should try Caro's Best Value Power Breakfast. 8 choices for $2.99. Only at Caro's.
You want to lease a Mercedes, but you don't want a long commitment. You could get a shorter term, but the payments might be too high. Introducing the win-win lease. Short term, less cost. It's like getting a big promotion and hiring your own secretary. The Mercedes win-win lease.
Thales provided the first natural explanation of the world's origin. For this, he's been heralded as the founder of philosophy. Pythagoras later suggested that all things are actually numbers. He was honored with his own theorem. Yet only Ingvar Kamprad said, "Who needs sales when you already have the lowest prices every day?" Ingvar never enjoyed the same prestige as the other philosophers, but he certainly sold more furniture.
Friday at 4. Could playing golf help you live longer? Watch Dr. Dina Dell. Plus, Dolphins up close and personal. You'll have a ball. Tomorrow at 4 on the Channel 4 News.
Did you tell your boss you're quitting?
No, I'm telling him on Monday.
Got any plans yet?
Few.
No celebrity spokesman.
I'm opening a restaurant.
No beach volleyball games.
How about another Heineken?
No lengthy description of the brewing process. None of that is what made Heineken the #1 imported beer in America.
You got that steady paycheck?
Oh, yeah. I got a few bucks put away.
So you want to own a restaurant?
No, what I really want to do is be a relief pitcher.
If she had a fever, you wouldn't wait to see the doctor. So why wait to fix the brakes on the car you drive her around in? When Midas can fix your brakes right the very same day you bring in your car. Midas, because your brakes can't wait.
He's in Manhattan on Wednesday, Frankfurt on Thursday, Paris, Rome, and Vienna after that. He believes it's better to do business across a table than over a fax machine. This year, he'll fly more than 100,000 miles with us because he knows nobody understands him better than we do. At Delta, when we say we love to fly and it shows, this is where it shows.
Every milestone deserves a new look at your insurance and financial needs with your MetLife representative. Get Met. It pays.
Now there's a man in a state of full active suspension. This is the only car on the road that has it. It's the car that has the Germans shaking in their lederhosen. It's got no shocks. It's all controlled by computer. You want to take it for a spin? You just tell an Infinity dealer you've got a Mercedes to trade in. They love that. Infinity makes you want to take up driving again, doesn't it?
For 5 years, she was the world's greatest female athlete, but last summer at the World Championships, Jackie Joyner-Kersee met defeat. A pulled hamstring forced her from her premier event, the heptathlon. Now the challenge comes from within as she fights to regain the top spot in the world. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, one to watch this summer on NBC.
Nighttime is next tonight. The newly united Bloods and Crips meet to work out their controversial truce, and a hostage standoff goes on for 23 hours. We'll have a live report.
The king of late night gets a standing ovation that just goes on forever. And here's where it all started, Johnny's hometown. That's all next on Nightside.
It's not easy to pull yourself away from a bowl of Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Those 2 scoops of raisins taste so good, you'll find that once you start, you can't leave them behind. It's those 2 scoops that taste too good to pull yourself away. 2 scoops of raisins, golden flakes of bran. Get every bite you can. It's those 2 scoops that taste too good to pull yourself away. 2 scoops that taste too good in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. 2 scoops.
Last year, MCI saved America millions of dollars with a long-distance savings plan called Friends and Family. Now, that same kind of savings plan is available for small businesses. Introducing MCI's Friends of the Firm. Now, whenever one MCI small business customer calls another in their circle of callers, they'll save an extra 20%. So if you have a small business, start saving an extra 20% right away by making this call.
Mercury Sable continues to distinguish itself as a leader in automotive design. This year, we redesigned the exterior, the interior, the instrument panel, and equipped it with dual airbags, a feature not offered by any other manufacturer in this class. Other than that, we've pretty much left it alone. All this and the quality of a Mercury.
Later tonight, he's entertained us for 30 years. Now the king of late night is saying goodbye. Tonight, Robin Williams and Bette Midler join him to celebrate as America gathers together to say goodbye to Johnny. Johnny Carson, the final 2 nights. And tomorrow morning on Today, it's Johnny Carson's final curtain call with Ed McMahon and Doc Severinsen, plus Tom Cruise and Sigourney Weaver. Join Bryant Gumbel and Katie Couric tomorrow on Today.
Mel and Goldie, Bird on a Wire, NBC Sunday.
Before you try anything new on an Alaska Airlines flight, we try it first.
Too spicy? Too spicy.
Too spicy.
More? Too far.
Too far?
Too far.
Too far.
Still too spicy?
Still too spicy. Still too spicy.
Louder?
Louder. Louder.
Louder?
Louder. Louder. Too loud.
Too loud.
Too loud.
Why does Alaska Airlines go to all this trouble? So you won't have to.
Think it's time to blow this taco stand. Yes, out with the old and in with the hot. The same place, same thing. No, baby, it's not.
It's the all-new Del Taco. Check it out and get our famous tacos for just 29 cents. Yeah, 29-cent tacos, only at Del Taco. Olé, baby.
It's where you get a lot for what you got. Del Taco.
Now there's a man in a state of full active suspension. This is the only car on the road that has it. It's the car that has the Germans shaking in their lederhosen. It's got no shocks. It's all controlled by computer. You want to take it for a spin? You just tell an Infinity dealer you've got a Mercedes to trade in. They love that.
I'm in the second floor. Is there anybody else in the house? No, I'm the only one. You're the only one? Yes, I can't breathe.
It was Memorial Day. I'm barbecuing for 30. I got the best chicken, I got the best steaks, I got the cheap charcoal, and I got burned.
Fire's out.
Totally.
When do we eat?
Sorry.
Still out.
So don't get burned by cheap charcoal. By the best.
Kingsford charcoal. Lights faster, cooks longer. Kingsford, the surefire.
It's allergy time all across the country. Time for chlortrimeton. Clinical studies prove chlortrimeton relieves allergy symptoms just as effectively as the leading prescription product. When it's time for allergies, it's time for chlortrimeton.
Tonight, America speaks out for what it wants. Hello, Domino's?
America wants our America's favorite pizza feast. Pepperoni, sausage, mushroom. A medium's just $8.99.
This just in. Nobody knows like Domino's.
How you like pizza at home?
Oh, what a disaster.
Yeah. New boss, new job. Instead of running to the meeting, I ran to the ladies' room.
Whose monthly protection hasn't failed? Introducing new Stay Free Ultra Plus. A natural core draws moisture down, then away, so the surface can absorb again and again. The wider shape protects front to back, edge to edge.
It really does the job. Now maybe I can do mine.
New Stay Free Ultra Plus, designed to stop accidents before they start.
Some people feel things that other people don't. They're more sensitive to little things like detergent. For those people, we introduce new Cheer Free. It's free of dyes and perfumes and their residues, which can irritate sensitive skin. It's dermatologist tested and it's from Cheer. So it has the strength and character to clean and brighten, but it also has a very sensitive side.
Beginning next, 2 Nights to Remember, a tale of 2 wars, 3 remarkable women, and the men who fought for their love. Judith Kranz's Till We Meet Again.
Monday.
On FYI, hey, wait, that's exclusive.
Will a video help Murphy bust a senator?
Ooh, I love the smell of scandal in the morning.
Murphy Brown. Then everyone's glad to see Julia's son, but is he in his second childhood?
Darling, would you not swoop your airplane while I'm talking to you?
Designing Women.
All those who love great comedy say hi.
The period between Memorial Day and Labor Day is peak season for alcohol-related traffic deaths. We have the power to change that. We can choose a designated driver.
Introducing from McDonald's. Not one thing, but two. Both hot and delicious. The Mushroom and Swiss Grill. Scrumptious sauteed mushrooms, fresh onions, and melted Swiss cheese. The Lettuce and Tomato Grill. Fresh onion, crisp leafy lettuce, and a thick slice of juicy tomato. Now the best part. Just 99 cents each. Introducing the new Mushroom and Swiss Grill and the Lettuce and Tomato Grill. Just 99 cents each. From McDonald's today. For a limited time.
For fun around here, me and the boys like to do something a little bit crazy. Put 2 kinds of cheese on a cheeseburger.
For a wild new taste, head to the store for 2 kinds of cheese and lean ground beef.
Cheddar and Munster. Crazy.
Look, I'm eating corn on the cob, thanks to Super Poly Grip in the easy-to-use pump.
Super Poly Grip holds so tight, many denture wearers can enjoy more of their favorite foods, even corn on the cob. Super Poly Grip.
Rescue 911 will continue.
Many of golf's sharpest shooting legends have won this tournament, as tradition-rich as Texas itself, the Southwestern Bell Colonial, this weekend.
Monday, Coach Newton and Herman take a long, hot road trip.
I'm sitting here talking to Hush Puppy and Lamb Chop.
On Evening Shade. Then, will Gunny sink the lieutenant at pool?
You have your own cue?
What did you think this was?
A really ugly purse?
Meet your dad Monday.
All those who love great comedy say hi.
This is CBS.
More of nature's best, most flavorful fruit. That's what you'd expect to find in a jar of homemade preserves. And Smucker's is the name you'd expect to find on it. Introducing J.M. Smucker's Extra Fruit.
All right, here's the deal. If you remember that Easy 98.7 FM is the only station that plays easy listening music, and it's called KXEZ, I'm going to stop.
Over the past few years, we've been talking about Kmart changing. Well, it's not just talk. We've been re-educating and retraining our associates, and we've been responding to our customers' needs faster than ever before. But for the next few years, every single Kmart store will be just like new. I want to reassure all the people we haven't reached yet that their new Kmart is coming. I want everyone to feel proud about shopping in Kmart. That's my goal.
It was a long, grueling ordeal, but finally the rescue of a family held hostage, and how Johnny Carson said so long on Nightcast at 11.
Give me 3 soaps, Spirit. Give me 3 soaps, all in one.
Spirit's a new kind of soap. It works like a cleansing bar, deodorant bar, moisturizing bar, all in one. Spirit, it's like 3 soaps in one.
Little Caesars presents Shake Your Caesar. Caesar salad, 2 pizzas, and crazy bread for only $8.98. Only at Little Caesars.
Pizza, pizza.
Our 5th anniversary, and they call right in the middle of dinner.
Oh.
You know, I got one of those calls trying to get me to change from AT&T to
MCI.
And guess who gave them my number? Dave, they said.
Dave.
He put them on to me, too, about this friends and family thing.
Yeah. What are you guys talking about, Dave giving out your numbers?
That's who did it.
At AT&T, your friends are your business. Keeping you connected to them is ours.
Dave, what? You know anything about this friends and family thing?
Trust me, it's just not worth it.
Now, hair that style can be beautiful to touch. The Finesse Styling Collection. Each has a touch of conditioner, so if you need a little hold or a lot, your style stays touchably soft. Spritz, gel, mousse, spray. Get the hold that loves to be held.
Remember me, Kim Fields, when being overweight was a fact of life? For years I tried to lose the weight, and I couldn't, until I tried the Ultra Slim Fast plan. And look, I lost 25 pounds in 5 months. The shakes are amazing, delicious, and filling. I have one for breakfast, another for lunch, and still enjoy a great dinner. Now with Ultra Slim Fast, being thin is a fact of life.
Ultra Slim Fast. Give us a week. We'll take off the weight.
Hey, kids! Know where you can hang with your favorite heroes in a half-shell in their most incredible adventures?
We ought to be partying, not fighting.
Here's a hint. It's in the same place where you can find your favorite funny fat cat and all his pals. Give up? It's Garfield and Friends and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Saturday on Kid TV, where kids rule.
The one show that keeps you on the edge of your seat and prepares you to save lives. Over 98 lives saved and counting. Don't miss Rescue 911 Tuesday.
I'm Patrice Tompkins of Sears Brand Central, and our Carnival of Value sale is so special it only happens once a year. So come in now for big savings.
For instance, this top-mount refrigerator from Kenmore, America's favorite brand. Save $20, plus get a free factory-installed ice maker. Or save $130 on this Kenmore refrigerator with ice and water dispenser. And there's much more right now.
So hurry to Sears Brand Central now. The Carnival of Values ends Saturday.
Refreshing Lipton iced tea. Share the experience.
Why should you try Tylenol Allergy Sinus? Because allergies can be more than watery eyes, more than itching, more than sneezing. Many come with sinus pressure and pain, but the leading allergy brand has only an antihistamine. Tylenol Allergy Sinus has more. A decongestant and a pain reliever to relieve all your allergy symptoms. It's more complete relief. Tylenol Allergy Sinus. Allergy relief clear to your sinuses.
Two women are struck down. An organ transplant can save only one. Now, after a daring experimental operation, they share one body. Which is the true identity, the body or the mind? Mayor Winningham and Jameson Parker star in Who is Julia? Sunday. Now get ready for Judith Krantz Till We Meet Again, next on CBS.
To purchase a video cassette of this program, call 1-800-848-3256.
Trading places with your twin is a scream.
Let's check your reflexes.
But who is who?
You're under arrest. Spread 'em.
Northern Exposure Monday.
April 28th, 1988. A veteran captain and a co-pilot on her first command.
No one ever expects an airline pilot to be a woman.
And no one expected what was about to happen.
Cabin roof ripped away.
Based on the heroic true story. Connie Selica, Wayne Rogers, Anna Alicia.
We're gonna make it!
Miracle Landing, Tuesday.
This is CBS.
It began not with a clean sheet of paper, but with a 75-year history. A history of building automobiles that make the most of the driver's skill. Because how you drive is as important as what you drive. BMW introduces a car that could improve both. The BMW 325 IS Coupe. The BMW 3 Series starts at $23,275.
Understand, this is nothing personal. It's business. Before we get started, what do you want on your tombstone?
Pepperoni and sausage.
Joey, Tombstone Pizza.
Once you start thinking about new Tombstone Pizza's killer sauce and real Wisconsin cheese, nothing else matters. So what do you want on your tombstone?
This is gonna make a big splash.
Don't miss the Jimmy Stewart Marathon, Saturday at 6 on Channel 2.
Tonight, a special CBS miniseries presentation. From best-selling author Judith Krantz, a tale of 2 world wars, 3 extraordinary women, and the men who fought for their love. Michael York, Courtney Cox, Barry...
Tomorrow night, 2 women who have never met. Their only link is their fear of the night.
I like the sound of some garlic and spice. Sizzler, sounds good. Scampi and steak, now that sounds nice. Sizzler, yeah, sounds good.
Here's 2 of your favorites, shrimp scampi and grilled steak, together for just $7.99. How does that sound?
Sizzler, sounds good. Sizzler, that sounds good.
Every bud, every blossom will help you from the ground up with everything you want to grow and everything you don't. Showing you the way like no one else, Ortho. It's our nature to help.
Look out, Letterman. It's Geraldo's Top 10.
You're watching KCBS TV Channel 2, Los Angeles. Now, Penny Griego and Jose Sanders. Channel 2 Action News, Nightcast.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's happening. Mass murder tonight in Oklahoma City. The bloodied bodies of 5 women between 14 and 40 years of age were found in one room in a house in a quiet neighborhood. So far, a few details.
Been in there for a while, probably 10 to 12 hours prior. This is going to be a long scene. We'll be here probably all night, maybe into tomorrow.
Do you have any idea what might be the motive for such a crime like this?
Not at this time. I have no way of knowing.
Neighbors said there were no unusual activities or noises at the house prior to the murders. Investigators would not say how the women died, but the boyfriend of one victim says he was told they were shot. There are no suspects.
Here in Los Angeles, local gang leaders tonight say their truce is holding. At a church in South Central Los Angeles, they're asking other gang members to lay down their weapons too. Michael Concepcion, an original leader of the Rolling 60s Crips, told Channel 2's Bree Walker exclusively tonight that if the truce holds for a few more days, they will invite Hispanic gangs in Los Angeles to join the truce. That would be another unprecedented move.
The LAPD sergeant who was in charge the night that Rodney King was beaten is going public with his feelings about what happened that night and his feelings about the LAPD. Stacy Kuhn has written a very blunt manuscript, and today he spoke one-on-one with Action News reporter Saida Pagan.
That the Rodney King incident deals with use of force. There's no racism involved in it. This is solely a use of force incident, and it has not been addressed. There is a hole in the Los Angeles Police Department use of force policy that has existed for 10 years, exists today. Nothing has been changed on the Los Angeles Police Department to avoid this type of situation from occurring tonight or tomorrow or any other night.
Sergeant Stacy Kuhn is talking about what he describes as a big gap in the use of force policy at the Los Angeles Police Department. Kuhn says his 275-page manuscript was initially written as a form of therapy over the past several months. But he says it can also help educate the public about life as an LAPD officer and why blunt language is sometimes used.
And it's done for a reason. It's done, if I've just shot a human being, and if you have any conscience at all or you have any well-being at all, that is not acceptable. I don't care if the person's even pointing a gun at you. You can rationalize it, but it's not acceptable. You have to be able to rationalize this violence that you've used. And the way you do that is to dehumanize the individual.
In his writings, Kuhn also makes use of the derogatory term mandingo to describe Rodney King. He also quotes fellow officers as joking that a black man who had been shot was, quote, too dumb to go into shock, end quote. But Kuhn says he is not prejudiced.
I'm not a racist. I think everybody is prejudiced. You're prejudiced, I'm prejudiced. Whether or not you allow your prejudice to dictate your actions.
And he says, by and large, officers in the LAPD are not racist either. In spite of several critical references to the LAPD and his own career and financial losses, Kuhn says he no longer harbors ill feelings about anyone associated with the Rodney King beating case.
Initially, yes, strong anger, hatred, despise. But this and my writing has allowed me to work through that.
Saida Pagan, Action News Nightcast.
Now, Kuhn says he hopes to have the manuscript published in book form or perhaps made into a TV movie, but he insists he is not trying to make money from what happened. He says he just wants to let the public know what the job of an LA police officer is really like.
Some find Kuhn's manuscript outrageous and offensive, but others say it reflects what the average cop goes through.
You know, he indicates in here that there was laughter at the end of the Rodney King incident. It's not laughter that we beat the hell out of somebody, not at all. Because when you're in a stressful situation, you have to have some release.
Well, I think that you need to put the remarks in context, and I think what's very difficult for the ordinary citizen on the street, myself included, it's very difficult for us to put ourselves in their shoes where they face real life and death every night.
This is incredible that a man has these kind of views, living in a metropolitan area in this country at this time, and yet would have the temerity or the gall to tell us it's not about race.
Attorney Johnny Cochran calls Stacey Kuhn's decision to write this book both courageous and stupid.
Well, LA's new police chief is heading west soon after a fond farewell from his hometown this weekend. The city of Philadelphia is throwing a big goodbye party for Willie Williams. Today it was open house at the Philadelphia Police Department, where Williams signed autographs and accepted the well wishes of thousands of people.
What do you think of Willie Williams?
I think he's a great man.
Are you going to miss him? Yes, I am. I think half of the department going to miss him.
Williams is coming to Los Angeles for meetings next week.
The folks behind tonight's big comic relief show are hoping that if they can get America laughing, maybe America's homeless will benefit. They brought in homeless Angelinos to enjoy the live concert on a big screen TV outside Universal Theater and enjoy a hot meal at the same time. Some of the comedians, like Tom and Roseanne Arnold, even came outside to offer up laughs on a more personal level. While inside, organizers Robin Williams, Whoopi Goldberg, and Billy Crystal were putting out a humor-filled nationwide call over HBO for money to help those without a home.
It isn't funny. We need your money because the government is a wreck. You can ask your congressman for help, but don't try to cash his check.
This is the 5th year for Comic Relief. Past concerts have raised more than $14 million for America's homeless. Those 3 people are incredible.
They always do a good job, don't they? There is much more ahead tonight on Nightcast. Look out, George and Bill. The Texas billionaires gaining faster than you think.
Tens of thousands march to save our cities.
And it's anything but a foolish endeavor when we come back.
Channel 2 Action News, sponsored in part by Coco's, where it's fresh strawberry season, but not for long.
Here's good news for everyone who loves Coco's pies. Our fresh strawberry pie, all rich and juicy and sweet, is now in season. Our fresh strawberry hot fudge sundae is now in season. And right now's the season for all of Coco's other fresh strawberry desserts. But remember, even at Coco's, strawberry season is short. And when it's over, it's over. Coco's strawberries. Better hurry.
Pactel has one of its most popular portables on sale right now. Simply call this number. That's Pactel, inventor of Pactel Microcell with digital technology, a ruler of the cellular universe. And it's only $9.95 a month.
Thank goodness I didn't mention the free battery eliminator.
Call 1-800-222-9595. Operators are standing by.
Cautiously.
Another Home Depot certified advantage. Guaranteed low prices. Home Depot will beat any price from any store on any identical item any day. Nobody beats Home Depot's everyday low price. 5 gallons of Dutch Boy Confident interior latex flat paint is only $34.92. That's an everyday low price of just $6.98 per gallon.
Home Depot, Home Depot. Low prices are just the beginning.
The Mitsubishi Diamante LS with TCL traction control, electronically controlled suspension, anti-lock braking. Safety and performance features associated with luxury performance sedans like Lexus and Infiniti. Now seamlessly integrated and refined in this one, the Diamante LS. See your Mitsubishi Motors dealer for special limited time lease rates.
A stunning new nationwide poll out tonight that reflects the depth of support for the undeclared presidential candidacy of Ross Perot. A Time magazine CNN survey shows that if the election were held today, Perot would win. He has the support of 33% of registered voters compared to 28% for the president and 24% for Bill Clinton. In Little Rock tonight, Clinton said the poll shows people are fed up with politics as usual.
It's most troubling for the incumbent president, where people do know something about him and know about the record.
President Bush had no direct comment on the poll, but a White House spokesman brushed it off, saying polls go up and polls go down.
Looking at other news around the country tonight, Dateline, Washington, D.C. 30,000 protesters marched from the Capitol to Washington Monument today in a Save Our Cities rally. They're calling for more jobs and better education opportunities, and they want federal money to help rebuild urban America.
Dateline, Columbus, Ohio. Police are hoping for a quiet night after early morning violence on the Ohio State University campus. At least 19 people were arrested and as many as 30 are recovering from injuries. No word on what started it all.
Dateline, Edwards Air Force Base. The Space Shuttle Endeavour is safely on the ground tonight after a successful 9-day maiden voyage. Endeavour touched down right on schedule this afternoon with 125,000 spectators on hand to watch the high desert landing.
And I like the colorful new parachute they used to help stop it.
Standard issue from now on, we're told.
Yeah. The Sunday forecast when we come back. Plus, you may have to check that number and try again.
And kids commune with nature when Nightcast continues.
And hit these speed bumps here, lost complete control and hit me head on.
And tumbling and tumbling and tumbling.
Just lots of noise of metal grinding and glass crashing.
I believe with all my heart that this car is what saved my life.
The paramedic said to me, he says, you're quite fortunate to drive a Volvo.
Volvos are built to help protect you physically and financially.
Call me back and we can have a nice long chat. Oh, I know it's long distance, but I also know you rent all your movies at that lovely Blockbuster video place. And I heard they're giving everyone up to 3 hours of free long distance from Sprint just for renting 2 videos, even if you're not a Sprint customer. Now, you don't have to use all 3 hours talking to me. I know you have your friends. But you won't be calling anybody for free if you don't get into Blockbuster. Do it now for your mother.
1 out of 4 Americans will suffer from heart disease. Maybe someone you know and love. But you can help lower your family's risk by giving them foods low in cholesterol and fat. Foods like Weber's bread. It has no cholesterol or saturated fat, and that's good for your heart. So feed your family right, because you can't tell who's going to suffer from heart disease just by looking at them.
Only 2 American-made luxury automobiles provide both driver and passenger side airbags. One of them is a Lincoln. And the other one is a Lincoln. With Lincoln, it's easy to be on the safe side. Lincoln, what a luxury car should be.
Well, LA's new 310 area code is in full effect tonight, 2 weeks late. The riots delayed the switchover from 213, but today, the phone company officially ended the 6.5-month grace period. 310 encompasses much of LA County except for the downtown and Hollywood areas, which remain 213. But the phone frenzy isn't over yet. This fall, a chunk of the 714 area code will become 909.
We're going to dial up our weather right now. It's looking pretty good, all of them. Today's high downtown was 76 degrees after an overnight low of 61. Now here's what it looks like right now. 63 degrees at the Civic Center. Relative humidity is 87%. The winds at LAX are from the west at 6 miles per hour, and the barometer reads 29.91. The forecast, it'll be fair tonight with late clouds and light winds. You can look for a low around 63. And then tomorrow, more of those morning low clouds, then fair and warm in the afternoon with a high around 78 degrees. It was pretty good, huh?
Yeah, nice again. High in the Sierra Mountains, some 6th graders are staying away from the classroom this weekend. And no, they're not skipping school. They're just getting a different kind of education. This is Camp Keep, a 7-day back-to-nature experience for some environmentally minded students. Now here, kids spend their days outside learning about the earth firsthand and their places on it. The adults who run Camp Keep say it offers students an education unlike any other. And the kids obviously like it too. As one student put it, the camp teaches them that they belong to the earth and it does not belong to them.
Looks like a lot of fun. That's it for Action News. Thanks for joining us.
Stay tuned now for the Saturday Sports Final with Rory Marcus. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
80% of Lexus LS400 owners could afford to drive a car that costs twice as much. So why don't they? Well, for one thing, since its introduction, the LS400 has retained more of its value than any other car in the luxury class. And as any self-respecting capitalist will tell you, it's not what you make that counts. It's what you keep. Come into your Southern California Lexus dealer for some investment advice.
So I'm barbecuing for 30. I got the best steaks, I got the cheap charcoal, and I got burned.
Fire's out.
Don't get burned by cheap charcoal. Buy the best.
Kingsford, the surefire. Question: how are you going to start your barbecue this year? I'm so confused. Answer: new Kingsford Charcoal Lighter, reformulated to meet all LA air quality standards.
So grill away, LA!
AT&T Reach Out America customers will soon hear 40% more laughter. Their memories will be 40% brighter. And their smiles will be 40% warmer. Because calls made from 5 to 10 p.m. on your June bill will be 40% less than AT&T standard rates for customers with an evening discount. 40% off on calls to everyone. And 40% less means 40% more to share.
You know what? Right now is a really good time to talk to your Ford dealer. Look at this.
What could you get for $399 a month? A hot new four-door Explorer. Now that's some lease program. And this Explorer XLT comes complete with air conditioning, power windows and locks, tilt steering, cruise control, and alloy wheels. With numbers like this, you'd think there'd be a catch. Here it is. So what are you waiting for? Guns in the Hands of Teens, Monday at 5.
Coming up on the Saturday Sports Final, maybe the Dodgers should take up basketball. They might be a better opponent for a team blazing a trail through the NBA playoffs. A horse from Arkansas ruins the Kentucky Derby Winners' Day in Maryland. The America's Cup is still that. Don't hurt yourself. The Saturday Sports Final is next. Good evening and welcome to the Saturday Sports Final. Losers of 11 of their last 13, the last thing the Dodgers needed was another debilitating injury. But tonight they placed Darryl Strawberry on the 15-day disabled list. Strawberry is hospitalized for about 4 days with a herniated disc. Strawberry's boyhood chum, Eric Davis, with the one-handed jam over the right field wall. Speaking of jamming into the right field wall, bottom of the first, Davis, the baseball player, drilled one deep off Sid Fernandez. It went over Bobby Bonilla's head, allowing Mitch Webster to score the game's first run. The tension was too much for Tommy, who had to resort to some slim fast jerky. Pitching dominated the night, but the Dodgers scratched out another run in the bottom of the 7th when Jose Offerman singled home Dave Anderson. It's 2-zip Dodgers. Tom Candiotti made the lead stand up. He goes the distance, shutting out the mighty Mets on just 6 hits. Dodgers win it 2-zip. Earlier today at Candlestick, the Giants led the Cubs 1-zip, but added an insurance run in their half of the 8th on this Jose Uribe double, and that pretty much put the game in the bag for San Francisco as Valley dude Rodney Beck continues to develop into a dominant reliever. Giants win it 2-zip. Tonight down in Dixie, the Montreal Expos had their way with the Braves. Alejandro Pena, standout in the playoffs last year, continues to struggle as Spike Owen tags him for a homer. Expos win big over Atlanta 7-1. Archie Cianfranco and Larry Walker also homered for Montreal. Tim Belcher hit a home run and was the winning pitcher for Cincinnati. Barry Bonds homers twice, won a grand slam and drives in 6, but the Pirates still lose. And the Astros win it with 2 outs in the 9th. Boston is supposed to be nice this time of year. That's if you're a tourist and not some poor, struggling ball club with the unenvious task of facing Roger Clemens and Frank Viola on successive nights. Viola found himself in his only jam in the 5th inning, but Wade Boggs, who usually wins games with his bat, may have saved the day with the leather, robbing Junior Felix of 2 RBIs. Julio Valera has been everything the Angels hoped and then some, but today he wasn't sharp enough. Jody Reed drove home Herm Winningham with the game's first run. Then in the bottom of the 6th, the Angels would cost themselves another run when Gary DiSarcina threw the ball away, allowing Phil Plantier to score. Angels blanked for the 2nd day in a row, 3-0. They're now just a game above the 500 mark. In the Big Apple, the big Oakland A's trail the Yankees 3-1 until the Bash brothers brought Oakland back with 5 in the 5th as Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco combined to drive in 4. Oakland goes on to beat New York 6-3. Last night, the Twins were blanked by Cleveland. Today, they pounded the Indians. Kirby Puckett provides us with something you don't see every day. He can't get it out of the infield, but 2 runs still score. The world champs win at 8-6. Elsewhere, Ken Griffey homers to beat the Blue Jays. The Orioles deny Jack McDowell from becoming the first 8-game winner in the majors. The Brewers get 2 in the 9th to beat the Rangers, and the Royals lose for the 24th time in 34 games. Time for our first television timeout, but when we come back, a trip to the NBA and NHL playoffs. And we'll head for Pimlico, where a local jockey reigns supreme, denying yet another in a long list of Triple Crown hopefuls.
You had to get the car with air conditioning, with cruise control and an AM/FM cassette stereo. The car recently named one of the world's best overall car values. Well, now the monthly payment is due, and it's just...
So it's hard for me to gauge if things got worse here in Rampart. And likewise, I wasn't in Newton tonight, so I don't know if things got worse down there.
So it's all you can do to keep ahead of all the calls. It seems like as soon as you get one, you're gone.
We're definitely not getting ahead of the calls. We're trying to keep up with as many as we can.
Thank you very much, and good luck to you. Thank you. That's what the situation is like out here. It's almost like you're in limbo in a holding pattern, having no idea what will happen next. That is not a good feeling to have when you're dealing with people who are burning buildings and looting them and scaring people to death in this community, most definitely. So much so, as we mentioned earlier, that they're even arming themselves. And of course, that's been a subject of a legal debate between some of the people and police when they make their encounters with them.
Liz, what about the issue of journalists and reporters being out on the street after curfew? Does this not bother police? Are they sort of using us to get their message across about the curfew? Yeah. That's why it's acceptable?
They don't seem to mind us being here at all.
But you do have to wear a press pass in order to be out there. You obviously have to belong to an organization, a news organization.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're you know, you can tell it's a television truck, so they know it's us. They know they will turn around and look at you because you're not supposed to be seeing any cars, and it always comes as a shock, and they want to make sure that you're someone who's friendly, so we're always waving like crazy to let them know who we are before we come into areas. But obviously there's a lot of areas that are dangerous and cordoned off, and you can't go in there, and nor would you want to. Without making the crime situation worse. Most of the time they don't mind we're here. We're getting out the word, we're talking to police, and I think the information you're getting from them is coming from a personal point of view for people, but also it gives you a real clear picture of what's going on here on a nitty-gritty point of view as well.
Got it.
All right, Liz. Some of the statistics may be rather static. The fire is apparently there were some 40-some still burning as darkness came tonight. But one figure that is anything but static is the number of dead. It has now risen to 24.
We understand as of 5 o'clock this afternoon there were approximately 378 arrests, but since 5 o'clock it's now 10, 5 hours later. There have been several arrests this evening. We've seen at least 20 of them, people on the streets arrested for being out after curfew. Right now we're going to go back up to our newsroom. Linda Alvarez has something on problems at LAX. Linda?
Well, actually not as many as you might think, especially since they've had to divert a lot of the planes. They're only over ocean landings and takeoffs. There are some delays, however, the airport is operating operating normally. They advise that you call if you have to go pick up somebody or if you are going to be leaving. If you have your tickets handy, because if you're stopped, you can show them that you're disobeying the curfew because you're on the way to the airport. Some flights have been diverted to other airports, San Diego and Las Vegas, so you really should call. Also, we have some information about some power outages. Because of all of the fires and what's going on in South Central LA, about 16,000 people are without power at this time. The crews have not been able to get back into the area without police escorts, and the police have been too busy escorting the firefighters. They did, however, manage to get to one rest home, which had a number of people on respirators, and they were able to restore power there. As far as water, there is no problem with the water supply. There is enough to drink, and there, we understand, is good water pressure if the firefighters can get to the fires to fight them. Back to you, Jess and Colleen.
That has been one of the blessings. At least the respite from the drought has certainly been a boon. We'd have been in serious trouble had we had to expend the numbers of gallons, indeed probably acre feet of water to fight the many fires we've had it not been for the rainfall we had this winter.
Linda talked about power outages. We've heard that there's actually a run on batteries and flashlights and candles in some areas, people stocking up. We've heard reports of some gas stations being out of gas as a result, people filling up, sort of digging in, not knowing what's going to happen in the next couple of days or so.
One of the restrictions on gasoline sales was that no gasoline could be sold except that which is put immediately into the tank of your vehicle. That, of course, to keep people from filling gallon jugs and the sort of thing that could be used to provide the fuel for Molotov cocktails, believed to have been the starter for most of the arson fires.
What did we call it last night? The incendiary device of choice.
Incendiary devices, indeed. It was the incendiary device of choice, according to authorities, but it was done in such a, I guess, professionalism, an experienced manner, that has lent credence to the notion that organized gangs are now involved in very efficiently setting these fires that manage to burst into flames almost. Some of these buildings have literally exploded in flames, which is not the sort of thing you get from tossing a wadded piece of paper, a fire into a building.
Police reported earlier that they arrested 6 teenagers, 6 youngsters, who actually admitted that their goal was to set a minimum of 10 fires in a single hour. And between last night and about 3 o'clock this afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock, we heard as many as 600 structures had burned in that short period of time.
All right, our Jim Giggins is back at the AME Church with Arsenio Hall and the Reverend Cecil Murray. Jim?
Yes, Jess, we're here with the Reverend Cecil Murray. Of course, he is the pastor at First AME Church. This is the church that's politically trying to calm things down. With him, as he calls him, is his right hand, Arsenio Hall. You came out here. What is the message that you're saying to the people out there and the people at home?
Well, one of the most important messages has to be you cannot get peace with violence. We are not a violent people. That's right. And there's so many things that I could say, but one of the other things I want to say is we can't tear up our neighborhoods. No one cares if we tear up our neighborhoods. We burn down a building. We take jobs away from black people. We take jobs away from friends, family, neighbors. We have to try to deal with this problem politically. Don't burn down neighborhoods. Burn down the ballot boxes. We have to change our society in that way. And the most important thing is I have seen people on the news acting like Officer Powell. All right. I don't want us to play the Officer Powell home game. That's not how we want to solve the problem. Oh, y'all did that and y'all think it's all right? Okay, we'll pull some white people out of some cars and we'll show y'all it ain't all right. That's not the kind of people we are. That's not what Dr. Martin Luther King fought and died for.
Now, I understand on your broadcast tonight, you had many of the people here from First AME and others, and you zeroed in on the problem in this national broadcast on what's happening in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I made an attempt to zero in on it and do the best I could. The show was somewhat spontaneous. Sybil Shepherd was going to come. She got jammed up because of curfews and roadblocks. So what I did is I just did a show with anybody that was there. And I was surprised at people who just showed up. Sean Penn stopped by, Sinbad stopped by, Meshach Taylor was scheduled, he was there, Reverend Murray was there, we had, who's our senator, the lady who's the senator?
Diane Watson.
Yes, she was.
50 of the men
from his fan club at the church came to support him. It was a wonderful moment to show you his sensitivity. We housed 300 homeless during the 4 winter months all night long. $15,000 he gives. We go to Skid Row. $12,000 he gives. He goes throughout Paramount. Let me embarrass him. About sensitivity, which is lacking, and he brings gifts to the homeless. We shut down 8 rock houses in the greater area. 1 persists. We can't do anything with it. Right down the hill. We dedicated Wednesday, right down the street here. He gave us $165,000 to buy it. Isn't that something?
You know his only point. You know what his point is? His point is, the only way for black people to overcome now is for us to take care of us.
Yes.
For us to deal with our communities.
And what did you notice out there tonight?
We are turning
That you were marching tonight in the community trying to convince them to go home, to stay inside?
To go home, to stay inside, and to use the attic.
No one
and
will
what is your
respect
message
us
to them
unless
when
we
you came
respect
out? What was
ourselves
your
and take
message
care
when you
of
were telling them that?
It simply has to be, we've worked 200 years for gains. We can't let them literally go up in smoke and ashes.
Hallelujah.
Be constructive in your anger, not destructive, not self-destructive.
But is anyone listening? Unfortunately, there are more fires being set out there. Gunshots that we heard just a few moments ago not far from the church. Is someone getting the message?
Those with intelligence are listening. We are not reaching the unintelligent or the hardcore persons who wish to grab and run. They're not in the least bit concerned with civil rights, but with individual wrongs.
How do you see this ending?
This will end
like a fire. It'll burn out.
Like order coming out of chaos.
We leave it in the hands of the Lord.
You do see it ending. You do see it ending soon.
Yes, order out of chaos. It will come, and then some good will come out of it. It wasn't meant for good, but God will bring good out of evil.
And what is the message that you have to the people in Los Angeles tonight, specifically the ones who are out in the streets?
Those who are out in the streets, please preserve the dignity of our people. Those of other ethnicities, please preserve the dignity of our city. We have been called from Australia, we have been called from England, we have been called from Canada. Don't make Los Angeles look like less than it is, a superior group with 146 different nations.
Thank you very much, the Reverend Dr. Cecil Murray, along with Arsenio Hall, calling for calm in the streets of Los Angeles. This is Jim Giggins reporting live from the First AME Church. Back to you in the studio.
Jim, hold on there for a second. Don't let Arsenio and the Reverend run off. Officials can talk till they're blue in the face. We know that Arsenio carries a lot of clout, especially with teenagers and youngsters. He's out there this evening. He's certainly got a presence. He devoted his show to what's going on here in Los Angeles. Does he have a game plan? Is this something that's going to be ongoing with him?
You didn't hear the question. The question from Colleen is, do you have a game plan? Is this something ongoing that you have in your mind, a way to convince so many people who respect you, look up to you, to listen to what you have to say?
Well, one of the things I said earlier this morning on the radio and television when I was trying to make a plea is parents, step up today. Find out where your sons are. Make them stay in the house. Keep them there. I graduated from Kent State. When you say National Guard, I get very scared. We got to know where our children are, and we have to take care of them because we're in a very dangerous crisis, man. It's very, very scary. And you know what we were talking about? Is anyone hearing us? If one house doesn't get torched, we've been successful. If one life is saved, we are successful. We're going to take this negative and turn it into a positive, though. My people have always done that.
One step at a time. One step at a time.
One step at a time.
There you heard it, Colleen. That is the answer from Arsenio Hall and from the Reverend Dr. Murray. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much. Arsenio out there today. Also, Edward James Olmos, who Stand and Deliver, and Miami Vice was out there calling for peace as well. Sinbad was out there, Sinbad the comedian. Right. So a lot of celebrities getting involved. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of kids don't listen to officials. That's not who they're hearing. They will hear these people.
Sybil Shepherd he said, was expected to be on his show this evening, but she got held up in traffic. She was not alone. Spike Lee, the director, was scheduled to speak at the University of California at Irvine. He left Warner Brothers, never made it as far as Irvine. He got caught in one of those massive traffic jams that tied up so much of this area for much of the afternoon and evening. Now, the curfew certainly has helped with that situation. As we've seen as our cameras have been roaming around the community this evening, many of the streets are empty, and those that aren't should be, and the police and with the support of other units are working toward clearing those streets.
Some of the looting that went on today appalled a lot of people, and certainly one of the areas that really sticks in everybody's mind had to be the Fedco store that we saw late in the afternoon at, I believe it's La Cienega and Jefferson in the Crenshaw district. If I could, a rodeo in Jefferson.
Right.
Let's go to that videotape. Laurel Erickson was out there when this happened. This is one of the first Fedco stores, one of the largest in the LA area. Do we have that videotape?
There we are.
Okay, Laurel said there were actually people lined up to get into the parking lot here. That's how bad it was. People went into the Fedco store and came out with whatever they could haul away. Then police arrived on the scene.
But this is the point at which the police were not making arrests. They took a few people into custody. Most of them they just ran out of the place and made them drop what they were carrying that they intended to loot. But they did not make arrests. They didn't take them anywhere because they said, where are we going to take them? Tonight they apparently have found some place to take them because clearly they have begun to make arrests tonight, and they will be making more. Violators of curfew, but especially those who are accused of looting, especially those who have been caught in the act of looting, as these were, but later went free.
Just a few minutes ago, we were talking with Jim Giggins about the First AME Church and the number of celebrities who've shown up there today. We were talking with Arsenio, Sinbad, and we mentioned Edward James Olmos, and I look up, and about 30 seconds later, guess who walks into the studio to visit with us? If we can come out here on a 3-shot, it's nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You had a message for...
Your message was well received.
Yes, it was. It's sad. It's a sad day for humanity as a whole. I'm here basically, I've been going to all of the stations. They have asked me to come around and just to plead to the people and to say something to them as best I could. And basically what we're just trying to do is make sure that everybody that is home right now, that if they have any loved ones that are out on the streets right now, when they do come home, keep them home. The situation is very, very drastic right now. Just a matter of not even 20 minutes ago, I was driving down Sunset Boulevard going from Channel 7 over to Channel 5, and there was a boy that was killed right in front of me. And shot in the head by another person who was just walking down the street for no reason, and his friends were just throwing up their hands. They couldn't understand what had happened, and they were screaming and hollering. And it was pretty intense, and the situation has gotten to the point now where there's 24 deaths that have been pushed through already. And it's something that will definitely come back, as they were saying from the church, that will come back to be understood better as time goes on as a positive. But right now, it is deadly out there.
You know, we talk about the curfew. A lot of people think that the mayor imposed this curfew, this citywide curfew, mainly to get looters off the street, but it's also for your protection, as evidenced by the situation that you just saw.
Yeah, it is, and it is to get looters off the street, so it is really is. We have to stop this behavior. It's not going to solve the problem, and we have to remember that this situation is very volatile.
This has gone well beyond racial unrest, has it not?
Yes, it has. Yeah. Yes, it's way beyond that. It's a situation of many different things, and a lot of people taking advantage of the situation, which is really the hardest to take. But basically what we're seeing right now is a situation where people have taken a lot of different causes, different reasons, and now perpetrated them into the situation of saying, okay, well, we're going to use this situation as the one in which we'll stand up and fight back. And people I've seen people, like we all have seen on television. I've been driving around the streets and we've been seeing it. Entire families going in to get things, you know, and it's a situation where normal people that would never do that behavior now feel that it's okay because everybody's doing it.
How do you get your message across? I mean, it's so hard. People who are out looting obviously are not watching television at this point in time.
Exactly. No, what we've been doing is we've been stopping and talking with people as they're on the streets and asking them, are you going home? You know, please go home.
What kind of response do you get from them?
They laugh sometimes, and sometimes they turn around and they do come up, because most of the time they'll recognize me and they'll say, hey, aren't you the guy? And I say, yeah, go home, man. It's getting really bad in here. And we go from that situation. But basically, the situation will be calm. They will finally get it to the point where they will get it, secure the city. That's inevitable. That will happen tonight. But there's been 24 deaths already. Who knows how many more there will be before the night's through. And the thing that's hard is because we have had a large amount of this behavior long before this started. Now you got to remember, we have 2.3 deaths here a night in this city. I mean, last year there were 771 gang-related murders in the county of Los Angeles.
Would you stay with us for just a moment?
Yes, I would.
We have one of our cameras is with Rick Chambers, and there is some looting going on and some efforts to suppress it. Let's go to him now. Rick?
Yeah, Jess, we're out at Venice and La Brea. Let me take a look at the store here. This is the La Brea liquor store. This is what it looks now. If you look over here against the wall, you can see these are the 10 people that were inside about 15, 20 minutes ago when this LA SWAT team suddenly happened upon the scene. They were coming down La Brea. They saw people coming in and out of the store. With me right now is Sergeant Charles Duke. He's the guy that heads up this team. Give us an idea of what it was like when you guys pulled up. What'd you see?
Well, we saw some people coming out of the liquor store carrying some merchandise from inside, and we deployed a pre-planned tactic on them, and were able to get everyone in custody. This is one of our functions tonight is to try and stop the looting and to also respond to fire department that needs help, or officers, or any other areas that need our assistance.
Now you're waiting on transportation right now, and then what, you get back onto the streets?
That's correct. Well, as soon as we get our secure package here, we'll take these people and secure this location and then go on and find some other things to do.
We got 10 people over here sitting against the wall. 5 of them are female. What about the curfew? Are you noticing any type of improvement out on the streets now that we're under a curfew?
Yes, we've been driving around the streets, and a lot of the areas are very, very quiet, and nothing compared to what it was like last night. But I think curfew is working, and if the people stay off the streets and in the house, I think we can get this thing settled.
All right, when you wrap it up here, what's the next step? Give me an idea of what the scenario is for the next couple of hours.
Well, we're just going to go to different areas and try and stop the looting, advise people stay off the streets, respond to the fire department if they need assistance, any officers or civilians that need assistance, and provide whatever we can to help.
So you guys are basically troubleshooters. You go in with whoever needs the help, and you provide it and then get out and go someplace else.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Charlie, I appreciate you taking out time. I know you got a busy night. Once again, we're on La Brea near Venice, La Brea liquor store here. About maybe 20 minutes ago, there were about a dozen people inside looting the store. Suddenly, the LA SWAT team happened upon the scene. Everybody was forced to the ground. They were searched, handcuffed. Now they're against the wall back here waiting for transportation. This is a scene that has been repeated over and over throughout the night in the Los Angeles area. But as the sergeant said, things are beginning to quiet down. We noticed on our trek here from Hollywood Boulevard that the neighborhoods are very quiet right now. It's almost an eerie silence across part of the city. Apparently the curfew is working. The National Guard's out there holding down their positions around the city. Apparently it may be a more quiet night than we had anticipated, Jess.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick. You could almost mistake those guys for a paramilitary unit as opposed to a SWAT team, LAPD. Rick, is that special unit, the D unit that Patrick Healy was talking about, that's often like the SEALs or the Army Rangers?
No, this is basically just a SWAT team. A number of the big cities around the country obviously employ this type of a thing. They're highly trained, of course, and most of the guys right here work strictly in the SWAT team, and this is what they're trained to do, and they obviously, as you can see, do it quite well.
Have you gotten any indication of the number of arrests that have been made tonight?
No, I don't, Jess. We have been sticking with a number of National Guard units throughout the evening. Of course, their priority mission out here is not to make arrests, but to hold down a number of the locations and free up the police who can go out and do this type of a thing. I really couldn't give you even a wild guess as to how many arrests have been made at this point.
All right, Rick, thank you very much. We're back here in the studio with Edward James Olmos. We interrupted to go to that breaking portion of the story. One of the frictions that has been in the minority community has been between blacks and Koreans, and we've seen some of that played out in some of the torching and looting that was done, with Korean-owned stores being particular targets. There has been similar, if not equal, friction between the Hispanic and the black community. Has that been aggravated by the violence of these past 2 nights?
We haven't really seen it materialize, and we're very grateful for that, any more than the normal situation that occurs in any given night amongst the two groups. I must say that hopefully that this will be something that will actually start all of the major leaders, and especially the families, to start to come together and to start to unite between the different cultures.
Your presence at the AME Church certainly helped to solidify relationships a bit between the two communities, didn't it?
I would hope so. You know, I mean, those are the images that have to be thrown out there. And tomorrow I'm going to start off my day by just grabbing a broom and going into by the church over there, where it's actually been one of the hardest hit areas, and start cleaning the streets of South Central part of Los Angeles by myself.
Plenty to be cleaned up down there.
Yes, there is, and I hope that other people will take the opportunity to clean around their homes and around their area, and to get those images being pushed out there amongst the children, so that the kids and everybody can start to work in that. That's not going to solve the problem, Jess. There's a big problem here. There's a reason why this occurred, and people can say, well, it's a Rodney King situation, or it's the have and the have-nots. It's all of that, plus behavior that's been passed on for many, many, many years through our value systems deteriorating. And the simplest way to say it is in respects of what has happened just most recently with our political structure. I mean, what did you say after you reported that night, the very first time you said, you know, there were X amount of congressmen and senators that had been caught with the situation of having this bank account that would fund them monies when they would bounce their checks? What did you say once the camera was off of you? You probably turned to yourself and said, geez, you know what? If I had done that, I probably would have been, you know, something would have happened to me. Now, how many people were sitting in their living rooms when you were broadcasting it and said, not maliciously, just very matter-of-factly, gosh, if I did that, I'd probably be put in jail or fined or something. And how many children heard that? Millions of children heard that all across the United States, and that just made another notch in that whole situation between the value systems. Those people who they were looking at, who their parents said, geez, if they had done the same behavior that they had done, they would be in a lot of trouble.
That's why we were also outraged when we saw families with children in looting stores.
We had a story today about a mother who had sent her 4-year-old daughter in to pick something up out of the store, and Mike Hegeda stopped a couple of 9, 10, 11-year-olds walking out and asked them why they were looting, and they said, we have nothing else to do, it's there, it's free.
And they were there with adults as well, too.
As well.
Those are my family. You know, they're all our family. Those are a part of of us as human beings. I have unconditional love for the people that are out on the street right now looting.
You think they've
Believe
just been caught up in
they have been caught up, just like
frenzy?
you think that the children that go out and shoot every night because they're looking for their own sense of identity, because they don't care anymore, they're hopeless, and they don't get out of harm's way, and they don't care about inflicting harm on others. Do you think that they were born that way? No. This was a situation, the condition that has been taught to them. These people that are out there right now are our family. That's why when I see the situation turning towards what happened to us at Kent State, those kids that were killed at Kent State in the 60s, weren't they part of us? Weren't we all just like freaked out when we saw what happened? I mean, I'm sure that the people who did the shooting, the National Guard that did the shooting that day, they were just like us too. They were like our brothers killing our brothers. You know, it's extraordinary what's going on right now.
But if your brother tortures your house, you've got to stop him.
Yes, you do, Jess. And you got to stop him the way that you have to stop him. I understand that. But if your brother tortures your house, you also have the right to say, excuse me, brother, but you're my brother, why are you doing this? And if the response is because I don't like you on this and the other, and then say, well, I love you still. I understand you have a problem. And you must do that, because I'll tell you, an eye for an eye, like they say, leads everybody to be blind. And it's true. And it's that simple, you know. And I pray to God that tonight that people will turn around and grab their children and grab their relatives, and when they come home with a basket full of stuff, if that's what they've been out doing, that they will turn around and tell them, do not go out anymore. Do not push it anymore.
Well, with people like you and Arsenio, yeah, well, we're just purveying the news here. Like Arsenio, Sinbad, and other celebrities, you are the people that the kids listen to. They're not going to listen to officials. They're not going to listen to the mayor or the National Guard or the police. You are the people they look up to and listen to. So
they
it's
listen
a good
to us,
thing.
but I must tell you, I listen to you guys every night.
Oh, we like to hear that.
So that I'm going to tell you right now, you do have an extraordinarily strong voice in this community, and they do listen to you too a lot. So don't think that you're just, you know, sitting here as an intermediate between the factions and saying, okay, this is what happened today. When you stop saying this is what happened and start saying, geez, you know, at the moment, God, isn't that strange? And you talk, we listen, and it works. And I love you guys for it, and I thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you for stopping by this evening. Appreciate it.
God bless. Thank you. Good luck.
In the meantime, we're going to break away now, go out to Laurel Erickson. Unfortunately, we understand there's an apartment fire, or an apartment that's been set on fire. Is that right, Laurel? Is it Laurel out there?
Yes.
Yes, we are at Blaine and Olympic in downtown Los Angeles. What you're looking at now is an apartment building lower income people living there, and you can see that the whole thing is engulfed. It has been for several hours. The firemen tell me they tried to knock down some of it. The tenants tell me it started in a furniture store next door. And behind me, here is one of the casualties of this evening. They've got a fire truck that apparently needs repair, a semi-rig brought in to haul it out, and of course the ever-present police in riot gear standing by with shotguns to protect the people. It was a totally different story a couple of hours ago. Wait before you roll the tape. We're going to let this ambulance go through here, we hope. It was a totally different story a few hours ago. What you got here is people who have been sitting on the sidewalks all evening. They got all our stuff out of this building a few hours ago, and they have been sitting here. They're trying to find out how to get to the Red Cross, how to find help. Apparently these people have found someone to take care of them. Did you call the Red Cross yet, or are you going to stay with friends? Where are you staying tonight? You're going to go to Anaheim? So you did find some place to stay. Good. There's a different story over in Hollywood on Beverly earlier tonight. Maybe we can roll the tape on that. Over there was the vandals had moved up La Brea. They started a fire in the Sammy's camera store, and all of the people in the neighborhood helped each other to put the thing out. City Councilman Zev Yaroslavsky was there, and he said he wanted action.
Came from a briefing in which the chief of police himself was present, and all of his top brass. They are going to arrest people, and they are going to keep them arrested, and they're going to keep them incarcerated. That is the plan, and that is what they're going to do, and they know that that's what's going to be effective if we could just get these people deployed. Where is the National Guard? We've been waiting for the National Guard for 24 hours. The governor has to answer the question to the people of this community, why, if 24 hours ago you authorized the Guard to show up, why are they still hardly deployed in the city?
Zev Yaroslavsky is not the only person asking that question. Several times throughout the day, police officers have said the same thing. Now, how effective are they in taking people into custody? We don't have any numbers, but so far tonight we've seen people being released after they've been taken into custody, and the curfew, what we have seen on the west end of town seems to be mostly a warning, but the police seem very direct. I mean, they go after people and they try to clear them out. Right now, as we say, we are in downtown Los Angeles, and this was the home for many people, an apartment building next to the UPS building. And tonight, if we can pan down there, Lou, you can see all of these people there. They don't have a home, and they're going to stay apparently with relatives or wherever they can. So that's the situation down here. Reporting live, downtown Los Angeles. Back to you, Colleen. Jess?
Laurel, we have talked throughout this whole episode that most of the buildings being torched are commercial buildings, liquor stores being major targets, or stores that could be looted. But there is always the risk, we pointed out, that the fires would spread to occupied dwellings, and that is a classic example of it. You said that fire started where, first in a furniture store?
That's what they told us. They told us here it started in a furniture store, and then it hit the apartment building. Now, over on Beverly, they were afraid of the apartment buildings behind it, and many of the people who were out there helping to fight the fire lived in homes nearby there. So they were very worried about that. But as you say, most of the vandalism and whatnot has occurred and the fires have been in commercial buildings. But I think a lot of people have been worried that either the fires will spread from that or that people will start setting fires in residential buildings.
The people huddled there in the street, are they angry over the loss of their homes?
Well, I think they're pretty frustrated. I think they're frustrated, and I think they're angry. When we talked to them about an hour ago, most of them were just kind of lost. If you've got some time, we can go over and talk to them. Jess, have you got a little time?
Sure, go ahead, Laura.
Okay, all right,
It's
let's go
especially
over.
tragic when you realize the fact that this is low-income housing and the cost to relocate in Los Angeles is so expensive.
They may have gotten what they owned out of there, but those are pretty small bundles of possessions on the streets there.
Can I talk to you two? Jess, are you still there, Colleen?
Sure, yes. We're here.
Okay. Your people? Maybe we can get a few of them. Can we come a little closer to the light so we can all be seen? Hi. There you are. I've been looking for you. Come on and join us. Come on and join us. You look like you're cold. What time did the fire start?
3:20.
3:20 this afternoon? And
Yeah.
did they let it burn or what
Yeah,
happened?
they just let it burn. The firemen came late. They came like half an hour late, and then they just worked like half an hour and they left.
How did you get all your stuff out?
Before open the Curaçao furniture.
It started in the
The
fire.
bagay, yes.
But how did you get your own personal belongings out of the building?
They told us because they had it like half put up, and then they told us if we could go see what we have left. What do we have left?
Did you lose a lot?
Yeah, of course, we lost a lot.
And how do you look at it tonight? I mean, the Rodney King verdict, the vandalism, the looting. I mean, are you angry or are you just frustrated or what do you feel?
We're desperate. We're everything right now. We can't do nothing about it. We're trying to see if Red Cross has something, facilities for us or something.
And have any of the places that you work, have they been looted or destroyed at all? I mean, do you have jobs to go to still?
Yeah,
Somebody looted that job, but yeah.
He was working at La Curaçao. He was a salesman at La Curaçao, and now he don't have.
Furniture store?
Now he don't
I
have.
lost my job. I'm at home.
You lost your job and your house?
Yeah.
He used to live right here. He's my brother.
So where you don't know where you're going to spend the night?
No, we don't know.
So there you are, frustrated, angry. Did that about cover it? And out of a home and out of a job. So a lot of deep feelings out here tonight, Jess, Colleen.
Okay, Laurel, thank you very much.
Victims to spare.
You know, we see it settling down in some areas, but it seems to be growing into the suburbs this evening. We understand that fire units have been sent to structure fires at Lancashire and Oxnard, Parthenia and Willis, and Glen Oaks and Osborne. That's in the San Fernando Valley. Also, you know, we've heard reports throughout the day of Pasadena, and now we have confirmation that violence is moving into Pasadena's Old Town area, right along Colorado Street there. There have been reports that there's been looting there, a rash of small fires. As a result, the district has been shut down there. That's that quaint little area of theaters, shops, and restaurants along the Old Town area of Pasadena.
There may be a difference between the things that are breaking out in the suburban areas and also in Pasadena and Glendale and places like that, because their fire and police are not scattered the way Los Angeles is because of the massive outbreaks throughout the community, so that perhaps their forces are sufficient to deal with them, as it seems they have been able to do.
In Pasadena, certainly, they've just shut down that whole street there. Our Linda Douglas is at City Hall right now. Why don't we go out to her for the latest there? Linda?
We are still awaiting the governor and the mayor. The governor, I thought, was meeting with the mayor the last time we spoke because he was supposed to be here just a little bit after 9 o'clock. But in fact, he just got here just a short time ago. I've been trying to reach his staff, but of course they're with him. And there is, we believe that he may have been touring the area on his way to City Hall here. He arrived in the company of a convoy and has been meeting with the mayor for some time now. We believe that at the news conference, which should take place in a few minutes, anywhere from 10 minutes to 20 minutes. It's really hard to speculate because they had many matters of substance to discuss. We believe that at that news conference, Chief Darrell Gates and Sheriff Sherman Block will also be present. And of course, the subject will be how to control the violence in the streets and how to control all the disruption that is so terrorizing the city. The question has been raised by City Council member Zev Yaroslavsky. You just heard him a short time ago. Why has it taken the National Guard so long to get to where people want the Guard to be? That is no doubt going to be the question for Governor Wilson, and the governor's staff has said all along that there are very good explanations. It takes a while to mobilize a National Guard. These are private citizens. They've got to go home and get their things, and they've got to get organized, and they're under the jurisdiction of the police department, which will give them a mission. So the police department does not control the National Guard, but has to lay out a plan of action for the National Guard, and the Guard then knows where it is needed most. So we are standing by and waiting for this meeting, which we believe will contain some very important announcements for the city about future plans, immediate future plans for controlling the violence in the street and restoring order in the city.
Linda, the one thing we've been unable to get is an overall assessment of the effectiveness of the much more aggressive approach taken by the police department with the assistance of the National Guard, and certainly with the sheriff's deputies doing their share. How effective this has been tonight Has there been any sort of assessment at City Hall about that?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to get out of this briefing, we believe. You know, the complaints were throughout the evening that the police department was not responding aggressively enough, and clearly that is changing now. From every location that you've been to, the police are exhibiting a much more visible presence and a much more aggressive stance. Chief Gates will, we hope, be here to provide the information about how they're coordinating with the National Guard to create a more aggressive presence. And as I had mentioned to you earlier in the evening, several here have called for the show of force. What that means is not quite clear, whether that means using physical force, whether that means having so many troops or law enforcement personnel on the street that you have the presence of force is unclear, and that's going to be one of the things we want to talk to the mayor about tonight.
All right, Linda, thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing from you at that news conference when all of them have gathered there in City Hall.
We mentioned earlier the violence seems to have spread to many areas. There was trouble up in San Francisco. They've imposed a curfew. Atlanta, the same situation. Now we're getting word of riots in Las Vegas this evening. Apparently an angry mob roamed through that area's mainly black west side. This evening they were looting, setting fires, firing gunshots. One police officer was wounded by the gunfire. Police have cordoned off the area and imposed a curfew. This is an area just west of the downtown casino area that's known as Glitter Gulch. Earlier in the day, a group of black men, we understand, attacked a white bus driver. He was treated at a local hospital. We're talking about Las Vegas here. Again, pretty much the same situation. They have looting, fires being set, and gunfire going off there.
Indeed, demonstrations were held in cities across the nation to protest the acquittal, and also, to some extent, the summertime excuse for disorder, and we've had a good bit of that. Protests turned violent in Atlanta, where black youth smashed windows and attacked a few whites, and as in Las Vegas, as you mentioned. In San Francisco, as we saw earlier, demonstrators blocked the Bay Bridge and major highways, smashed some windows and looted shops. The mayor of San Francisco declared a state of emergency, as has been done locally. Hundreds of people were arrested in the San Francisco disorders, and a curfew there has been imposed, as it was here tonight. And as we know very well, much of this city, much of Los Angeles has been shut down. Bus service has been ended. Rapid transit, the rail system is shut down. There has been a dramatic impact on the city of Los Angeles by the rioting of the last 48 hours.
The death toll now stands at 24 people. We understand as many as 700 now. This is a new figure. 700 may have been treated for injuries from the riots, looting, the fires. It runs the gamut. As many as 700 people hurt, 24 people dead. About 300 youngsters set fires and broke windows in Pomona this evening, 30 miles just east of here. Looting also reported in Pasadena, as we mentioned earlier, in the Old Town area. Looting and small fires have been set. Also Beverly Hills, they're talking about looting there. Fire officials say overall about 63 fires are now burning about mid-evening, and of course new fires breaking out all the time. We told you about the ones in the San Fernando Valley just a few minutes ago.
But 63 would seem to be a reduction in the number we saw at the height of the fires, so perhaps there is some break coming. What we saw tonight in Laurel Erickson's report, where a secondary fire was the one that really caused the great problem. A fire in a furniture store was allowed apparently to burn itself out, and in so doing ignited an apartment building next door. Liz Anderson has been in Koreatown all evening. There has been some activity there. That's an area where there will be many burned out shells of buildings come daylight tomorrow. Liz?
Everywhere you look, that's exactly what it's like. Now, I will say the curfew has made things quiet down. There aren't as many people on the street. There certainly aren't as many cars on the street. This is the sort of scene you will see, though, people who are armed to protect property. These happen to be officers that were hired to protect property around here. Why don't you give me an idea of the sort of thing you are armed for and ready for, and what you maybe have already seen?
Well, I've been here since 10 o'clock this morning, and there's been several shootings in the intersection. Buildings have burned down, looters running everywhere. We didn't see real police presence until later on in the evening, and they've been around quite a bit protecting us.
I know you're trained to do these things, but is it something that you can look at with a calm, jaded eye? Are you used to it or not? Is this something unusual for you?
I have never seen anything like this before, and I have several years in law enforcement, and this is... It boggles the mind what's going on around here.
It does.
People are running rampant. They're just out of control.
Yeah, let me talk to you as well. Can I bring you over here a little bit? My cord doesn't seem to want to reach all the way for the microphone. What about you? You're ready for anything, it looks like, too. What have you seen so far?
Basically the same thing. I've seen people just acting like maniacs. They're out of control. They're not responding to any authority. They're just taking things without any purpose. This is beyond anything that occurred with the Rodney King incident. This is just random violence. It's not anything a rational person would do.
Do you feel, though, you guys are ready to handle it? I mean, is this, you feel you've got the protection you need?
We're here to handle it up to a point. I mean, we're not here to endanger our lives either. I mean, we're going to stay here and try and keep the property as safe as possible so the owners may come back and see how well, you know, that this intersection has stayed. But, you know, if it gets too dangerous, we will leave.
You notice every time I see a car go by, I'm doing this. I'm turning around and looking, and I notice your eyes are doing the same thing. It's really that way. Every time you see a car come by, you think, oh no, someone's going to start shooting. Is this just me, or is this how you feel as well?
We've already had several drive-by shootings over here today alone. From 10 o'clock this morning when the looting started on the building that just burned out to, you know, someone just driving down the street earlier was firing about 12 to 14 shots.
This is unbelievable tonight, and now we're feeling the smoke from what's left of a fire come over and waft over us. At nighttime, you can't. Thanks very much for talking to us. I'm glad you're here for the moment too. There's a gray cloud everywhere here tonight of smoke coming from all the various fires. It's hard to single one. There's one across the street from us, a building, a shoe store, and a restaurant that's smoldering. It was Korean-owned, and there were many others. And when daytime lifts, I can only imagine it will be this ghastly scene like we saw this morning, this gray cloud over the entire city. Yeah, it's just a nightmare. That's the only thing I can say, and it remains that way at this point. A quieter nightmare thanks to the curfew, but nightmare just the same.
Liz, the two men with whom you've been speaking are paid private security guards, hired only to protect the business that hired them.
Well, this mini mall, in fact, you see behind me, one of the few that hasn't been torched, partly because of their work, I'm sure.
Have you seen much of that? Now, these are not sworn officers. They are not authorized.
One is a sworn officer, is that correct?
Not right now.
Not right now. Okay, not a sworn officer.
So they're not really there to maintain law and order?
No, they've been hired to protect this mini mall here because the owners have seen the way the others have gone.
Have you seen much of that in the area, private security guards?
Much of it. Yeah. And not just private security guards, you're seeing people taking arms up on their own as well to protect their property, either to protect themselves, actually, or their property.
All right. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Right now, our Patrick Healy is in Gardena, and we understand a group of people there has actually been able to save a residence or a building or something, Patrick?
Colleen, actually, it's a store here in Gardena on South Figueroa Boulevard. There was an incident earlier this evening. There was an attempt to loot Choi's Liquor here on Figueroa. Neighbors heard about it. They came over. They scared away the looters, and then they spent the evening hammering up the front door and securing the gates, and they're staying here to try to prevent other looters from coming by. Let's get a little bit more of the story from Rosa Valry, you're a neighbor. You live a couple hundred feet from here.
Right.
And what did you hear going on this evening?
We heard some gunshots, and we came out to investigate what was going on, and we seen looters that broke into the store and was looting our liquor store, and we're not going to stand for it. We're over here trying to save our neighborhood, and I think we did a good job. And
what happened when you came out then? Were the looters still here?
The looters were still here, and I ran across the street and told them to get out of here. They don't live over here. Don't come over here. We don't want that over here in our neighborhood.
Okay, well, let's talk to David Choi for a second. Mr. Choi, this is your store. Yeah. How did you find out about what was happening?
Was alarm ringing, and my neighbor called my house, and I was here, and then I find out my neighbor here, and they was helping me. I'm very appreciate my neighbor, and very thank you.
Mr. Choi, it's no secret that there has been some tension the past years between Korean-American merchants and African-Americans in the community. That does not seem to be a problem here.
We never have problem. We very friendly, my neighbor, and I could take care of my neighbor. I never.
Well, let me talk to some of your customers, if I may, because we know the Latasha Harlan's case, for one, raised great concerns in the community about this. You, sir, do you see ways to ease this tension?
Right. Everything in the past, they should think about it twice. You know, you can't bring back the past. You have to look forward to the future.
Do you have much optimism with what you have seen happening in the city the past 28
I have
hours
looked
now?
at TV from the time it started until the time on now. I'm just away from it because I'm here trying to save what's left of what's not being burnt.
Okay, let's ask this gentleman. Your views at this point, the trauma the city has been through since 6 p.m. yesterday. Is it possible to mend some of these wounds that are tearing apart the city?
Of course, I'm ashamed of my people. I'm gonna make a call to all Spanish people in LA to stop. We need a good community. You know, it's built up into us. You know, I'm gonna make a call to all you to stop, you know, to bring back LA in the way it was.
Okay, again, we're talking to individuals, neighbors of Choi's Liquor Store here who came together tonight, scared off the looters, nailed up the front door, and they're going to spend a while here to try to make sure there's no additional problems. You, sir, you also have some views. What Los Angeles must do to cure this problem we have?
I think you can't solve this problem by going out tearing up your neighborhoods or anything. I think you guys need to just get together and just get together, you know, and solve this problem not by violence. Just get together and just solve the problem. Don't hurt each other. Yeah, you know, the community needs to come together as a whole, you know, and just solve this problem. You know, violence is not going to do it.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. So you've had maybe you could call it a mini slice of the United Nations with the ethnic diversity we heard from this evening, but the conclusion being that that people can come together and that there is some brightness in Los Angeles' future. Reporting live from Gardena, I'm Patrick Healy. Now back to you.
That street corner harmony that we just saw there.
That's the best news we've had all evening. Edward James Olmos would love to see this. This may be a trend, people taking back their neighborhoods.
We hope so.
We're going to go to the helicopter right now. We have a live picture, unfortunately, of bad news in this situation. We have a fire burning out of control. We have that picture, and it's a big fire.
This clearly is a fresh fire, looking at some of the black smoke that's coming up from there. We had wondered whether most of the fires that were still burning were older fires that had been set previously, but this one clearly is not that old. And we can see there is a good bit of flame, good bit of smoke coming from that. And as the camera pulls back, we may get some indication whether this is just isolated or whether the area generally is...
Yeah, we're not sure of the location on this. Maybe we can talk to our helicopter pilot, Cliff Welsh. Do you hear us here?
I can hear you, Colleen.
All
Can
right,
you hear
where
me?
are you now?
Okay, this is back on Hollywood Boulevard. We kind of have to keep, we have to kind of keep pointed in this direction. I'm going to try to give Dane a picture here. I hope it stays with you.
Okay, we noticed a tower there, Cliff. Is that a radio tower right there?
That's Pacific Theater, isn't it?
That's the Pacific Theater.
So
and it's
this
right
is
near that one we had earlier.
Yeah.
Only this is right behind it, Jess.
Yeah, this is the Hollywood swap meet, I think it's called. That's one that's been burning through it, so that is not a new fire. That's just a flare-up, because that one has been burning much of the late afternoon and evening.
That's a continuation. Actually, it's a different building right behind the one that we had earlier today, Jess.
Okay.
It's a sad indication when we can't tell fires apart because they're so close together. The fire department had said earlier by mid-evening they had as many as 63 fires burning, and that actually seemed to be a smaller number. We had some 600 fires set between yesterday evening and mid-afternoon today.
Cliff has been a pretty good judge of how the situation is going there from his vantage point that high up. Can you tell, in looking out over the city and getting to and from this site, whether there are more fires, fewer fires, whether there's less danger tonight than there was last night?
Jess, good question. And looking out here, I see very few fires at this time. And the thing that really is striking to me is very few automobiles on the streets down here. And I'm looking in all directions, and it's very, very quiet. There's a few cars on the Hollywood Freeway, but looking at these major thoroughfares down here, Santa Monica Boulevard, Cahuenga, et cetera, I don't see a car at all. It's really spooky looking down here.
That may be the effect of the curfew, and also perhaps the curfew has been responsible for the reduced number of fires as well.
I think the curfew is the deal here, Jess. It's really quiet. I'm flying right over Santa Monica Boulevard now. I see nothing there, and just one vehicle up to the west, and I'm going to have to climb up here just a little bit so you can hear me.
Okay, that's very good news. It may be eerie looking, but good news indeed. We did hear earlier that there were fire units responding to reports of structure fires at Lankershim Boulevard and Oxnard Street, at Parthenia and Willis, and Glen Oaks and Osborne. in the San Fernando Valley. Also, Old Town Pasadena apparently had a few small fires, some rioting there, or looting there, I'm sorry, not rioting, looting there. And so they have closed down that area of Old Town.
If there's been a break in the number of fires, as Cliff suggested there had, that certainly would give the fire departments an opportunity to get a handle on the ones that were burning, and perhaps also to get some rest in the meantime, so that they might be fresher to fight any renewed torching if it should reoccur.
Again, we have increased manpower out there this evening. We have the extra CHP officers in from Northern California as well from Southern California. Also, National Guard units are on the streets. There's a real presence there. This evening, we understand as many as 1,000 are on the streets right now in full battle gear.
Apparently, there's also a tactical change. They're being much more aggressive in pursuing looters, in pursuing the fires, and trying to enforce the curfew. Very aggressive out there tonight, and that seems to have had a significant impact.
But unfortunately, what we have noticed is that the violence has spread to other areas. We just talked about the area in the San Fernando Valley. We talked about Pasadena. In San Bernardino this evening, a 17-year-old youth, I wanted to call him a boy, I guess that's what a 17-year-old is, a teenager was shot to death by a private security guard when he tried to loot a store in that area there. It's just Long Beach, for instance. A group of guys, a couple of guys on a motorcycle were apparently stopped by a group of 14 or 15, pulled off the motorcycle. One of them was shot to death. The other one was beaten and was taken to hospital there. We're not sure the condition he's in. Again, the death toll is up to 24. As many as 700 now may have been hurt.
So there's been no diminution in serious violence, but apparently there has been a reduced number of fires. Clearly the looting has been reduced substantially tonight. There will be greater needs than there had been in the past. Many more people are homeless tonight than were last night. Many more unemployed this week than have been in previous weeks, largely because of the violence, the arson, the disaster that has struck Southern California and Los Angeles.
One of the more tragic pictures we've seen this evening certainly had to be the one that Laurel Erickson showed us in downtown or South Central Los Angeles, an apartment building, a low-income housing area that apparently caught fire because of a business that was set fire next door. Burned out several people out on the street. Many of them had nowhere to go this evening. They were sitting out on the curb with their belongings in tow, just what they could gather out of there in a short amount of time.
And that picture with a good deal of hope and harmony in it from Patrick Healy, who was in Gardena, where neighbors had gotten together. Neighbors had seen looters trying to get into their neighborhood liquor store, and they chose to confront the looters. They chose to surround the store and to protect it from the looters. It was interesting when you saw the composition of the neighborhood and the merchants. It wound up being black and Hispanic neighbors making great efforts to protect a liquor store owned by a Korean family. He was properly grateful.
That was probably the best news we've had all evening. It has now been about 20 hours since L.A. became a city under siege. All the nonstop violence, the fires, the looting, it just boggles the mind and staggers the imagination in the situation. Our Mike Hegedus has covered the rioting in South Central Los Angeles throughout the day. He now gives us an overview in this report.
He watched without really believing. He would only give his name as Dan. This fire, like so many others in South Central Los Angeles, burning, as was Dan's anger.
I'm not a gang member. I consider myself as a very respectable, very well-educated person. And to be very honest with you, I can't see why somebody would do that.
You said you had to even restrain yourself.
Yes. Inside me, I feel the urge to do something like that.
The looting was going on what seemed like every block. Hacks, crowds, whole neighborhoods, turning on the local stores, places where they've shopped for years. Now glass broken, doors busted down, closed for business, open for stealing, getting theirs while they could. Guys, did you just walk into the store and just take this stuff and walk out with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
Free?
Because why? Because it's free, is that it?
Everybody's doing it.
Because everybody's doing it. Yeah. What do you think about that? I mean, do you live here?
What?
Do you live around here?
Yes.
Yeah, well, where are you going to shop tomorrow when this place is gone?
Every people should know. Don't steal anything, because tomorrow we weren't going to buy anything. There's not going to be anything tomorrow.
Well, I know there's not going to be anything tomorrow, but how do you handle in your own mind stealing something like this?
Well, We need it today. It's not gonna be here tomorrow, so we're gonna need it today.
There were those who live in the neighborhoods who had not ventured outside until late this afternoon. When they did, their reaction was stunned disbelief.
I can't believe it. I haven't been out of the house today, and I decided to just come outside to see where all the people were coming from. I'm speechless.
As looters struck, police would arrive, clear the area, leave, and the looters would return, clean out the store, and move along to another target, leaving physical and mental wreckage behind.
Good picture. We pay our taxes. Here's what we get for it. If the police leave, this place is ruined. All right?
Sorry, what?
If the police leave, this place is ruined.
It was some kind of disjointed carnival, which went on for blocks, hopscotched from one to another. Hundreds of people taking over intersections and whole blocks, having fun, destroying the very neighborhoods where they lived. Looking for remorseful people was fruitless, but there were those who did not participate and tried to explain it.
Well, really, there's no excuse, but you got to understand the mental capacity of a lot of these people out here. A lot of them don't have a lot of things, and this is the opportunity to be honest with you, and it may not seem fair, but this is it here.
The air is heavy with smoke and with a kind of sickness. Smiling people stealing from others, often from the very stores they shopped from the night before, or even this morning.
Mike Hegedus, Channel 4 News.
That wraps it up for Jess and me right now. We're going to turn it over to Kelly and John with the 11 o'clock news and more breaking news right now. Kelly, John?
Thanks, Colleen. And Jess, we'll be back with our expanded coverage of what's going on in the city of Los Angeles on our special edition of the 11 o'clock news coming up in just a few seconds.
John Beard, Kelly Lang, Fritz Coleman Weather, Fred Rogan Sports, and Jess Marlowe Cover Story. Channel 4 News Lights On, #1 at 11.
Good evening. We are now in day 2 of the King verdict riots in the city of Los Angeles. We have statistics so far: 24 dead, 700 injured, about 1,000 National Guardsmen on the city streets, 378 arrested. That's only the count we have so far. And here's an example. We'll look at this tape from earlier today. This is a Fedco at the intersection of Jefferson and La Cienega.
And this is another example of some of the most senseless looting that we have seen. This in broad daylight, and it went on all day long today. People just started going into various stores, and this was all races, all ages. Nobody had a monopoly on this. At one point, we saw several members of a family, apparently a mother with kids, who went into one of these. And the police at this point spread too thin to do much about it, except take the merchandise, some of it, and send the people on their way, and then they would retreat for a while, and then when they retreated, the looters would invariably come right back in. This is the kind of a situation we've had all day long.
It's pretty amazing to see the police seemingly so powerless, and the people who are involved in this activity absolutely unfazed by it. And as you said, John, there is no color barrier limitation. We have whites, we have blacks, we have Asians, we have Latinos. Just an example of what's been going on in Los Angeles today. We're told now that we have about 1,200 fires that have burned so far. We're up to the chopper now with Cliff Welsh topside to give us, from his aerial vantage, the big picture. Cliff?
Okay, Kelly, this is Kelly, and I can't see it tonight.
Yes, Kelly and John here, Cliff.
Okay, Kelly, yeah, and we're right at Beverly and La Brea now. This is a fire that we had earlier. We've been searching out some fires here, and we're having a difficult time finding them. This is one that was burning much earlier this evening. It's just about done. It's a music store right on Beverly and La Brea. And the thing that really strikes us here as we're looking around, very few people on La Brea or any of these streets. I think that the people are obeying the curfew, and that's the thing that's really striking from in the air.
Well, it is much different, as you point out, than it was this time last night. At one point last night and early this morning, they were calling in something like 3 new fires a minute. And am I correct? It looks much quieter now that the curfew's in full force.
Oh, John, it's amazing. I'm looking around, and we're having a tough time finding any fires, at least in this part of the city. Now we're going to head down south, a little further south and a little bit further east in Los Angeles and see what we can find. But out here in the West End, it's looking pretty good.
Okay, that is a good bit of news. We are told that we have about 60 fires still burning at this moment. How many are you seeing, Cliff?
Well, we may have lost him for a second while he maneuvers a little bit.
No, I can hear you, John, but I lost half of what Kelly said.
She was asking how many fires you can see at this hour.
From our vantage point, we've only found the 2 thus far. A couple of ones that were just barely burnt out that we had seen earlier, but anything of any significance, we've just found the 2 thus far.
And quick question about the curfew. As you mentioned, there's still a fair number of people still motoring around, apparently in violation of the curfew, but that also is diminishing as the night grows on. Is that correct?
Well, the view I'm getting here, John, there's very few people at all out on some of these major thoroughfares, and then when we do check them out, some of them are police vehicles or fire vehicles, but very few civil vehicles are out there roaming around, at least in this area right now.
Are you seeing any evidence, Cliff, of people actually, and considering this business, because the curfew says you can be out there if you're on business, their personal business is to take personal care of their property, their businesses. Are you seeing any people doing that?
Well, it's very dark tonight, and I really haven't noticed anybody doing it, although some of the places, their neon signs are on, and it looks like a place down here, they says cool drinks and milk and so forth, and it might be a little mama papa store, and maybe just the lights come on automatically, but I don't think the store is open. But the main thing is very few vehicles on the streets.
And police were saying that the curfew would just be the major tool they needed to be able to keep unruly crowds off the streets. And obviously, if you have a good enough reason, a legitimate need, an emergency need to go someplace at any hour, that's okay if they stop you and you can explain yourself. But if you're riding around with appliances, it's still in the boxes in the back seat, or Molotov cocktails someplace in the car, then they're going to take care of it.
That's very true. But, you know, maybe just in this particular area that we've been thus far, but right in this area that we've seen, that the curfew certainly is working.
And the curfew, by the way, extends not only to Los Angeles City now, but to Torrance, to Compton, to Long Beach, San Fernando, San Francisco even. Pasadena's Old Town shut down. So there are curfews that probably we don't even know about at this point.
Well, there have been a lot of, Santa Monica as well has one, there have been a lot of new developments in the last few hours, some of them positive, but not entirely so, and we'll bring you up to speed on all of them in the next few minutes here. Koreatown has been an especially tough spot in all of this because there are ongoing tensions, as you know, resulting from the Sung-Ja-do case between blacks and Koreans, and there have been some episodes of violence and some gunfire in that area today. Our Elizabeth Anderson is standing by. She's on the edge of Koreatown right now, and she's going to bring us up to date. Elizabeth.
First off, I'll update you on this fire. You can see behind me. We thought it was out. It has started again at a Korean-owned shopping mall. It consisted of a shoe shop, a restaurant, and some kind of, I believe, a video store. Again, it's going up in flames. The fire department had come by, but they left. They gave up. They figured it was pretty much burned out. There wasn't anything much they could do. As you hear some of the wood snapping and falling to the ground, you almost get a little bit confused because you hear other sounds too that sound a lot like it. The popping and cracking of gunfire. I just heard some more of it. You can hear gunfire all throughout the city. Another good reason why people have been arming themselves in the city tonight. And the main reason they give me is simply because they are scared. 200 teenagers, mostly Hispanic, looting, stealing everything they could get their hands on. They laughed about it and seemed to have no conscience either, not even caring if we took these pictures. And even the pictures are hard to believe. She says,
I was just outside and I grabbed it, and I said, why are you taking it? She doesn't know.
It's just amazing, you know. You know, everybody, gangbangers, they all done came together, Crips and Bloods. I hear about Crips and Bloods. They all come together, you know. They out for one thing and just to loot.
Can we talk to you?
Look at that TVs, everything going out of here. I mean, that's happening all the way down Vermont. Don't make no sense. But
brazen burglars in the City of Angels. This time leaving nothing but broken glass, cameras smashed, and crushed business owners left to clean up a place they've owned for 20 years. Are you scared now for what could happen later on?
Yes.
What are you worried about?
Hopefully they might come back and try to get whatever's left out of here and just get out.
How are you feeling right now?
Very sad. Just sad.
For now, their friends stand guard outside with shotguns, ready to use them if anyone comes back. We also saw Koreans becoming reluctant vigilantes, armed and ready to protect their property too. But these Koreans lost their guns to the police, and there was some serious firepower here. But the Koreans said they needed it to protect their lives. They said they are scared to death. And here's another good reason why. You can look behind me and see the fire engines lined up one by one, lining up to get to the various fires that are plaguing this area of the city on the other end of the street, which is not well lit and you can't see it, but SWAT team is there. That only probably means they've cornered someone with some sort of weapons that they're nervous about. Here comes the police car now racing through the street. At this hour of the night, you are only seeing vehicles like fire engines and police cars. There is a curfew. Nobody is supposed to be on the street, but just a scene like that is nerve-wracking enough. We've got a few people on the area that have grown up here, and we're going to talk to them now. Let me bring you in here for a minute. What is it like? You see all these fire engines, you see SWAT teams racing by. What is this like for you to see this in your neighborhood, like this one?
I think it's very sad. What the saddest part, I think, is that there's a building behind me burning up, and the fire department are on this side doing nothing.
Well, they had been here, and you see the building's pretty much a
people
loss.
Right here, they live behind the building, behind what's burning. So if they don't turn it off, their houses are going to get on fire.
Yeah. This is one of the tragic stories we've been hearing all over. Let me tell you, are you able to speak English, hon?
Yeah.
Okay, you have your home right next door to that burning building,
Yes.
right? What's your concern at this point?
That we're not gonna be in any houses there anymore.
You're worried, you're worried.
They won't have a
They're
place to
very
live.
worried because this is the kind of thing we're hearing all over the city because there are so many fires, they simply can't make it to all of them. There's so many problems. They've got one call after the next, not enough officials to go around. I know you're not happy with that explanation, but I don't think that
there's over 10 fire trucks up there, and not even one could come and turn this fire off before their houses get on fire, and then what are they going to do?
Yeah, I wish you guys, I wish I had the answers for you. This is the sort of thing, again, people keep asking questions why to so many things and we don't have the answers. I can tell you one thing is that this is really frightening for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, to live in this kind of atmosphere is just, you feel like you're on edge all the time.
Especially if you have a 2-year-old and he's looking at everything, he cannot go to sleep.
Yeah.
We called the fire department, they didn't pay any attention.
And I know you're scared to be out here because of the curfew, right?
Yeah.
I just keep hearing gunshots at night. You hearing them too?
We are.
How are you able to live with that?
We just moved here.
Thinking of moving out, maybe?
Yes.
I thought so. Okay, that's the situation down in this part of town. Not much better than any other area. Still a nightmare. It's still a word that comes to mind all the time when I look around here.
All right, Elizabeth, it's obvious why that woman is not in her house with her 2-year-old because the house next door, the building next door, is on fire.
That's right.
But what about the curfew? Is it working? Are you seeing fewer people on the streets? And the people who are on the streets talking to you, what are they doing out there?
Well, I was going to ask him, you were just coming out to get something to eat tonight, were you not?
That's right.
Even though there's a curfew, you weren't a little bit...
It don't matter. Curfew is not going to keep my hunger from going away.
Yeah, he said, well, there you have it. He had to go out. But I'll tell you one thing, most people are not on the streets. You look around, there are very few cars and very few people on the street. The curfew seems to be working very well, so much so that when you do see a car, you look twice and it makes you a little nervous because you wonder what they're doing there. I'm not the only one that feels that way. I see the police do that and the armed security guards around here doing the same thing. Nerves are very much on edge, especially when you hear more and more gunshots. The thing about not having as much traffic on the street is you're able to hear the gunshots more clearly, and frankly, I wish I didn't have to hear those, and you do hear more and more of them all the time. I'm sorry to report.
That is a very, very terrifying aspect of all this. And of course, these people don't have permits to carry guns, and it's frightening when you think citizens are out there bearing arms against citizens. Elizabeth, thank you very much for that. It has been a night of more horrors after a day like Los Angeles has never seen, not even, by the way, back during the Watts riots in 1965. 24 deaths now blamed on the rioting, and the pattern played out in various neighborhoods all day, and in some cases, of course, right into the night, despite the curfew. Carloads of looters, followed by fire bombs, shootings. Phil Schuman has been all over the area in the combat zone all day and all night, and he's got a live report. Now, Phil, where are you and what are you seeing?
Kelly, we're live at the police command post at 54th and Van Ness. The temperatures are cooling off in this area, and fortunately, it seems that tempers are cooling off as well. Within the past hour or so, no reports of looting that we've seen, no major fires. Now, police are still out in force, along with the National Guard, along with the Highway Patrol, police from all over Southern California, along with the county sheriff's departments, not just the LAPD. We're going to do something just a little bit different for you now and let you hear what people have been saying out on the streets of Los Angeles tonight.
This is happening because an injustice was done.
This is a frustration with an injustice, and there was no other way to vent the frustration.
After the Latasha Harlan thing, people they didn't do anything then, right? They didn't do anything, and now they taking over now. The black people are taking over. It's time. It's time for this. And I wish more people would do it.
I think they should rather make signs and protests other than setting fires, but you know, that's just their thing.
What will stop this? What will put an end to this?
The people themselves just realizing that what they're doing is wrong and that they're only tearing up the community. I wouldn't put a stop to it.
You think that the people that are capable of this are capable of that kind of logical thought?
I would think so if they just kind of sit back for a minute and look at what they're doing and seeing that they are tearing up the community.
Yeah. Again, the major streets in this area are shut down. The curfew seems to be working, and the overwhelming majority of cases. The police, though, continue out in force on the streets of South Los Angeles tonight. But again, it seems that the tide has turned somewhat. Reporting live, Phil Schuman, Channel 4 News Nightside. Kelly, John.
Okay, thank you very much, Phil. One thing more disturbing tonight than last night is we've seen more residential units burned down. Laurel Erickson's at a very dangerous area now where some residents are out in the street, their apartment being one of those that was burned. Laurel.
Well, you know, John, what's really dangerous about this, we're down at Blaine and Olympic in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles. What's dangerous is that it is an empty, vacant street. The police, the firefighters have all left, and it is a very lonely kind of feeling, especially with a lot of cars patrolling, because despite the curfew, there are a lot of people out taking pictures, looking, talking. What we're seeing behind me is the apartment building that has been on fire all afternoon, late afternoon. The fire started in a furniture store next door. Many, many people who don't have a lot of money are out on the street tonight with all of their belongings. They are angry, they are frustrated. One man not only lost his home, his belongings, he also lost his job at the furniture store next door. And if you think he is alone, he is not. It is not just poor people who have stood by and watched their homes or their businesses burn over in Pico and in Pico, Fairfax area. We listened to several businessmen over there who were angry, who were ranting at firefighters for just letting their businesses burn. What we're going to show you now, if we can roll the tape, is a different story over in Beverly Boulevard. Now here, there was a camera store that had burned down. Xavier Slavsky was over there too. What you see is all of the people in the neighborhood joining together, helping the firefighters who were undermanned, underwomaned, fight this fire. And they finally managed to get it out.
Here's the chief of police himself was present, and all of his top brass. They are going to arrest people, and they are going to keep them arrested, and they're going to keep them incarcerated. That is the plan, and that is what they're going to do. And they know that that's what's going to be effective if we could just get these people deployed. Where is the National Guard? We've been waiting for the National Guard for 24 hours. The governor has to answer the question to the people of this community. Why, if 24 hours ago you authorized the Guard to show up, why are they still hardly deployed in the city?
And of course, Xavier Slavsky, city councilman, is not the only person asking that question tonight. A lot of the police officers we have talked to throughout the city and throughout the evening have been asking the same thing. So here we are live. This is what it looks like when there are no police, no firefighters, no protection, and you're all by yourself. Downtown Los Angeles, by the freeway. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Laurel. The violence tonight has been moving into the outlying suburban areas. Now, the thing is encroaching, it is moving like ripples, roving gangs, looting, fires all over the place, as you can see. Pasadena's quaint Old Town district shut down after looting and a rash of small fires. Gunfighting in San Bernardino, reports of looting and street fighting there as well. And in Long Beach, the now eerily familiar scene of fires, this one at a furniture store on Alameda Avenue in Long Beach. Police are doing their best, they say, to stay on top of the situation.
Our strategy at this point in time is to quickly get on scene and try to stop the problem before it festers. We want to aggressively and quickly get on the scene and handle the problem.
However, as in many, many other suburban areas this night, the violence has turned deadly in Long Beach as well. Police say 2 motorcyclists were attacked by a band of 15 thugs. Those hoodlums pulled them right off their bikes, shot and robbed them. One of them is dead.
Everything about this obviously changing by the minute, and one thing that is changing is the planning for tomorrow. Things that will be scheduled, that have been scheduled, that will be canceled, things that we take for granted that just will not happen. And we're going to go up to Linda Alvarez up in the newsroom now with some cancellations. Linda.
All right, thank you very much, John and Kelly. Precisely, that is the majority of the kind of telephone calls that we're getting up here in the newsroom. People want to know about closures and schools, and they also want to know, just as Laurel Erickson reported in her story a little bit ago, they're asking, where is the National Guard? Now, to answer their questions about the closures of the schools and the businesses, here is what we can tell you now. Here are the schools that are closed. It's a long list, so I'll try to read them rapidly. Listen up if it's your particular school. All of the Los Angeles Unified Schools and most district offices are closed tomorrow. Also closed, UCLA. It will be closed. No classes tomorrow at UCLA. However, the medical center is open, of course. USC has closed, canceled all its finals. Cal State Dominguez Hills is closed. Beverly Hills School District, Compton School District, Long Beach School District, all closed. Los Angeles Catholic Archdiocese, all of their schools are closed. Loyola Law School downtown closed. Pepperdine University Point Facility in Culver City, Mount St. Mary's Doheny Campus, Cal State LA, Cal State Northridge all closed. Santa Monica City College closed. All 9 LA community colleges are closed. And in Woodland Hills, the Halsey School has closed. However, open Pasadena schools, including Pasadena City College, they are open tomorrow. Now, as far as businesses go, Arco Plaza is closed. Most Unical facilities, including the Unical corporate headquarters, closed. Northrop, which employs about 26,000 employees in Southern California area, in metropolitan Los Angeles, Northrop is closed except for Palmdale and Edwards Air Force Base. Hughes Aircraft, all LA County facilities are closed. Now, open tomorrow is Hughes Orange County and Hughes San Diego. But Hughes LA County is closed, and you will get paid for the lost day. Prudential Warner Center in Woodland Hills, that is closed tomorrow. And in Carson, the Nissan Motor Corporation is closed. Also closed tomorrow, Getty Museum, the Islamic Center, all LA libraries are closed tomorrow. And many people have also called and they wanted to know about the RTD. Now, it did close today at 4 o'clock, but we understand that they do plan to resume their normal services tomorrow for the bus and the train lines. So that's it from here. And we also found out that the Clippers and the Utah Jazz playoff game has been rescheduled for Saturday afternoon. All right.
All right, thank you very much for that update and that wraparound, Linda. Now, we've got a word from Pomona Police advising us that 1 person shot and critically wounded there, 15 people arrested as a result of a large riot that was advertised as a peace riot. But when police turned up, they found out that the organizers of that peace rally intended to loot the mall. That went on for 5 hours, and in all, 10 fires set, 20 businesses vandalized and looted. We now go out to the valley where all of this began with the Rodney King beating some 14 months ago. Diane Diaz is in Sepulveda where things are heating up there. Diane?
Kelly, right now I'm standing in front of one of the establishments that's been looted here in the San Fernando Valley. Just take a look at some of the damage here. Again, another store, a discount galleria this time, completely in a shambles. As you can see outside along here, we have a lot of debris strewn about. We have pots and pans, blenders over here, all kinds of stuff. A gentleman just walked by and said there are about 15, 20 people still in the back of this establishment looting it even as we speak. And in this general area, we just had a presence of about 15, 20 cops out here. They are trying to keep the curfew in this area, but people are out. They are taunting police. One man just drove by here shouting obscenities, and the police tore out after him. Another one came up and made some mild threats toward us and our camera here. Again, it's a very tense situation in the valley. We haven't seen this thus far. The violence does seem to be spreading. We drove down Sepulveda, saw a number of storefronts which had been broken out. Cops on the scene, police motorcades, that type of thing, all of them trying to keep the situation under control. And of course, the situation in the valley does not seem to be anywhere near as intense as in South Central and some of the Los Angeles inner city areas, but there is a sense of frustration, a tense feeling out here right now. I'm watching some people hanging out on a street corner just across the intersection there. I don't know if you can see them. Just moments ago, there were about 20 people there, again, having a confrontation with police. Someone threw a bottle. The police went after them. It's been back and forth, the few minutes we've been at this intersection right now. The police had torn out after a car that had been taunting them. The other concern right now in the San Fernando Valley is fires. We are getting reports of several fires burning in the valley, and the smoke is evidence of that. But when I spoke to the city fire officials, we were not able to confirm the blazes as yet. We have one going at Willis and Parthenia. That's the one that the city fire crews were able to verify. Other reports are at Woodman, Satakoy, Van Nuys and Haynes, Victory and Woodman, and we were just able to see up Parthenia in the other direction, another blaze apparently just breaking out. And so the valley does seem to be quite tense at this time, particularly here in the Sepulveda area, where there are a number of people on the streets breaking the curfew, taunting police, and continuing to loot here in the San Fernando Valley. Reporting live. Back to you.
Diana, we want you to get out of there. These guys across the street are just looking for trouble. Obviously, they're going along, and even the kid there broke a window. And so if you're in violation of the curfew in the greater Los Angeles tonight without a very good reason, you will find trouble with the police or the National Guard. All right, let's go to Rick Chambers, who was earlier this evening was standing by with the National Guard, and let's find out where he is now. Rick.
Yeah, John, we're over at 48th and Western, and unlike Diane's scene there, it's relatively calm here. What you see behind me, though, we've got a building that has been burning now for the better part of about an hour. The firefighters are down there. They're dousing it. Now, 5 or 6 hours ago, this would have been commonplace anywhere you went around Los Angeles. But in the last, I'd say, hour and a half to 2 hours, this has become less and less something that we're seeing on the streets. And, of course, that's good news. At this particular scene down there, the firefighters have been battling a blaze in 2 buildings. They have been unable to save those 2, but at the same time, they're trying to protect the building on the other side. You know, interestingly enough, the folks that are here protecting the firefighters, unlike other places that we've been, are not LAPD. In fact, these folks here are up from Irvine. Throughout the city, we are seeing the same type of thing. Police units coming up from Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, Cypress, Irvine, of course, here behind us, a number of police forces from Orange County. And they're allowing the LAPD to get back out into the streets and do what they're supposed to be doing, and that is enforcing the laws out right now. You mentioned that earlier today we had been with the National Guard. We were with a number of units earlier. We have not seen a number of the Guard units for some time. They are apparently keeping a kind of a low profile at this point, although we know they're out there. We have seen them before. Of course, what you're looking at right now is a group of the Humvees coming down one of the city streets earlier this evening. They were taking up positions, blocking off a couple of areas to keep the looters out, and they were doing quite a good job. They had taken up positions. Once they got in there and they showed their force, a lot of these guys are armed with M16s, the Humvees blocking off the intersections. It kept people out. So you can see the bus loads here of sheriff's deputies that were coming through one of the checkpoints. As long as the National Guard troops were there, the police could go about doing their business, and they were almost assured that there would be no more looting and any type of vandalism in some of these neighborhoods. In the last few minutes, though, we have not been able to find much of the National Guard. I placed a call up to Sacramento, talked to some of the people up there. They have assured me that there are some 4,500 National Guardsmen statewide that have been assembling at various areas around the state, and they are beginning to trickle into this area. Of course, they're coming by military vehicle, military airplane. Some of them are busing in. It is kind of a logistical problem, and not kind of, it's actually a big logistical problem to get all these people down here and get them organized. At last count, we heard that there were about 900 to 1,000 that were actually down here in the Los Angeles area. They are at 6 different substations around the region, and from there, they are being kind of funneled out to problem areas. Earlier, we were up on Hollywood Boulevard, and we noticed that there were a number of police still helping out the fire engines up there. It had been rumored, and they had heard it and were telling us that some of the National Guard troops would be in there to take over their position, thus allowing again the LAPD to get back out into the streets. We're going to continue to roam around the neighborhoods here, see what we can find for you. If in fact we run into another one of the National Guard detachments, we'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks very much. You say 4,500 of the National Guardsmen have been deployed around the area. You say earlier we heard that 900 were already here, and you say they are beginning to trickle in. You know, people, Rick, are asking all over the city, where in the heck are they, and are they making a difference?
At the places we've seen them, I've got to say that they're making a big difference because they would block off the areas. We had seen a number of stores that had been looted or that were beginning to be looted, where windows were cracked, and we talked to a number of police officers who said if the National Guard's troops were not there at that particular time when they got there, that we would have seen a number of more fires and we would have seen a lot more property damage around the area. Again, we have been traveling throughout this whole city all night, and we have just not seen as many National Guard units as we had anticipated. Now, we said before that there are 4,500 being assembled. That doesn't mean that they're down here. There are only about 900 to 1,000, we understand at last count anyway, that were actually here. Of course, getting them out into the areas, though, as you might expect, can be pretty tough. We understand they're doing the best job that they can. But within the last hour or so, we just not have run into as many as we had expected.
Now, we also heard earlier there was some, according to the governor now, apparently there was some kind of a snafu with getting them equipped with ammunition and some protective body gear, and maybe in one case to get some planes to get them physically down to Los Angeles.
Yeah, John, we have not heard a lot about the ammunition very early on when they first started to come here, and I'll try to speak up because we got an ambulance and several patrol cars passing behind me right now. Let them go by. Yeah, as far as the ammunition is concerned, I don't know very much about that, to tell you the truth, but early on when the guardsmen were just getting here, in passing conversation, I asked one of the guys who had his clip and his M16, I asked him, are you carrying live ammunition? And he looked at me kind of puzzled that I would ask a question like that, and he said, of course I've got live ammunition, and then he looked at me and told me I wouldn't have come down here without it. So I'm assuming that they are all carrying it, although that has not been confirmed by anybody from division headquarters. As far as protective gear, they are wearing flak vests and bulletproof vests when they've got them, at least the ones we have run into, and that, I've got to admit, there's only been about 25 or 30 guardsmen all evening. As far as everything else, getting them down here, we can only go by what they're telling us out of Sacramento, and that is that they're getting them here as quickly as they can. But, you know, when you think about the logistics of something like that, it's a Herculean effort to get them here, and they're doing the best that they can.
All right, Rick Chambers, thank you very much.
And